It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you a historic broadcast. Secret Service agents opened fire on suspect carrying firearm near Trump while golfing yesterday. It was a second assassination attempt against the president in just about 2 months. We're going to be covering that all morning this morning. We're going to hear from Lauren Boebert in the 7 o'clock hour, Gabe Evans as well, John Fabricatori in the 8 o'clock hour, and Greg Lopez in the 9 o'clock hour, getting reaction from those that are either helping lead our federal government, representing Coloradans, or those that are running for office themselves. In addition to all that, we want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. We have a new text line for listeners. Want to send us a text? We have a new number for you to use. Send us your message at 720-819-5115. Save it in your address book. That's 720-819-8115. When you send us a message, it'll be delivered directly to the studio. Message and data rates apply. Wild weekend, as it's heartbreaking to see this continue. U.S. Secret Service agents opened fire after seeing a person with a firearm near Trump's golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida, while the Republican presidential candidate was golfing, according to two law enforcement officials. No injuries were reported. The person fled in an SUV and was later apprehended in a nearby county by local law enforcement, the officials say. It comes almost exactly 2 months after Thomas Matthew Crooks shot Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, wounding him in the ear. The man's motives are not yet known. He was arrested in Palm Beach County by Palm Beach County's sheriff deputies. The White House issued a statement soon after the incident. The president and vice president have been briefed about the security incident at the Trump International Golf Course, where former President Trump was golfing. They are relieved to know he is safe. They will be kept up regularly on updates by their team. A man by the name of Ryan Routh, the same name as the would-be Trump assassination suspect, is a Ukraine fanatic and Trump hater who was apparently recruiting soldiers to fight in Ukraine. Let's check in on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. All right, so I knew this was going to be an issue, not a big issue, but so I'm seeing the pronunciation now is Ruth.
Ruth, okay,
so
not Rouse.
Brian Ruth. You know what? Right when I say that, it'll change in an hour.
Well, you're the actual news guy.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm looking all over. Okay, are they going by Routh? Are they going by Ruth? Are they going by, and then I heard Roth,
Baby so Ruth.
He's a nut. 56 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
1:30 this afternoon. Call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area.
The son of the alleged gunman who was waiting to target former President Trump on his Florida golf course on Sunday says his dad isn't a violent person. Warren Ruth told the Daily Mail that his father, Ryan Ruth, hates Trump, but was shocked to hear about the supposed assassination attempt. Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw reported the U.S. Secret Service agents engaged the man identified as 58-year-old Ryan Ruth near the Trump International Golf Course, armed with an AK-style rifle equipped with a scope. Ruth is a nut job who believes everything the left tells him, including the mainstream media. Before coming back to the States, he was in Ukraine trying to recruit people to fight Russia.
It blows my mind that I'm standing here alone without thousands of people from every country, from Asia, from Africa, from Australia, from Canada, from everywhere in South America, every place.
Europe.
Europe, everywhere. We need everybody here. If you have no skills, just come. We need to be cheerleaders. Just being here and saying, hey, I support the Ukrainians, and I support human rights, and I support good and generosity and caring and kindness.
Okay, as Jeff mentioned, the White House said that President Biden and Kamala Khan have been briefed on the incident. Trump was rushed to safety after those shots rang out in the vicinity of the Trump International Golf Course in West Palm. But remember what Harris told Ellen years ago.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Okay, here's what messy NBC had to say.
Do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone. And then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started. So I don't know how long this could, this moment of unity for the country where we come together and we say, I don't want any political opposition to be under threat of violence.
That is incredible. So they want Trump to tone it down, not the mainstream media. The reason it happened was because of Trump, of course. One of the Colorado paramedics convicted in the death of Elijah McClain has been ordered released from prison. Peter Jakunik was sentenced to 5 years in prison earlier this year after he was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the death of McClain. Police stopped McClain after someone called about a suspicious person. Officers tackled McClain and paramedics injected him with a lethal dose of ketamine. On Friday, a Colorado judge modified Jakunik's prison sentence to 4 years of probation. Tito Jackson is dead at the age of 70. If you're old enough, like me, he was part of the Jackson 5. Entertainment Tonight reported that Jackson passed away Sunday, with a longtime Jackson family friend and former family manager telling the publication it is believed that Jackson suffered a heart attack while driving. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. It is 53 in Arvada, 54 in Greenwood Village, and 56 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Good Monday morning. Here we go as we start the week. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The cloudy skies after morning sunshine across Denver and the Front Range. Going to have a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the lower 80s today with lows tonight in the mid-50s. Little better chance for showers and thunder. Some stronger gusts possible on your Tuesday. Highs will be in the mid-80s with lows lower 50s. Sunny, dry Wednesday. Highs mid-80s. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Another weekend, another assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Man, I'm frustrated with the incompetence of this administration. This is an administration that really can't get anything right. Look at the Afghanistan withdrawal. Look at the legislation that they have passed. This is an incompetent administration from the very top. The Secret Service, right, has already had to face tremendous scrutiny over what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. I don't think that where's the president in all this? Where's the vice president in all this? Why are they not calling Mayorkas or the current acting head of the Secret Service to figure out why this continues to happen? Officials on why Trump did not have more security. Well, he isn't the sitting president. I mean, this is, at this point, I'm almost, Bill, at the point of thinking that this is willfully ignorant with the attacks that the president is taking place that or against President Trump, that the president, vice president, FBI, Mayorkas, Secret Service are not stepping up to provide better security.
So if we offer thoughts and prayers, that's not good enough here in this situation. It's not.
No, of course not.
Why not? That's what we do. That's what we do in other shooting situations like this. We offer thoughts and prayers. So
no, we don't. We try to
No.
figure out the security issues.
No, we don't.
If you're attacking schools, we absolutely try to figure out the security issues. We don't just simply offer thoughts and prayers.
No, that's what we do.
Do you see conservatives trying to attack the Second Amendment right now?
No, I don't see. I don't see Democrats doing it either. And the issue for me is that this is what happens in our society. We've talked about this, and yeah, they're going after Donald Trump, which is unusual. But okay, twice. We've had more school shootings than that over the course of the year, but we're not super worried about the schools. We've had more shootings.
We are.
No, we're not. We've had more public shootings over the course of the year. We're not more worried about that. We just somehow we're more concerned about this guy who, yes, he is a presidential candidate, but this is a function of our society. We have decided, my opinion is we have decided in the society, it's an outgrowth of what happened with the protests on the colleges, that we have decided that at some points, violence is speech. I spent a lot of time thinking about this in the last 12, 15 hours. I believe that we have come to a point where our Second Amendment is now viewed like our First Amendment. That in order to express my opinion, my anger, my dissatisfaction with anything, anyone, anything in my life, one of the solutions I have is a firearm. And I can express my anger with whoever I feel is responsible, in charge, or just randomly there.
How do you see that on college campuses? I don't get that connection.
What I mean by the college campuses is and I was thinking about this yesterday, it's an outgrowth of, and I had heard someone talk about it, and I think they were right, that on college campuses, part of the reason is that we saw some of the ridiculous pro-Palestinian protests and why the colleges were lax in dealing with it is because on the college, they have decided that in some cases, some speech is violence and some violence is speech. So, and what I mean by that is when the Palestinian protesters were able to break into buildings and the campuses were kind of like, oh, this is very bad. Maybe we should start dealing with this soon. We should, we are so awful. This is concern. And we're worried about this. They basically acquiesced and let a lot of it go on and weren't really looking at trying to prosecute and arrest the people that were responsible. And so they viewed that violence that was going on as speech. And I just was sitting yesterday, that's where we are right now. This guy decided that his speech was not being heard. So he had to speak louder. So he picked up a gun. That's what he did. We've decided this over and over again. We have instances of people deciding that whatever is going on in their life is not being heard, not being understood. So they need to act out. We have turned our Second Amendment into our First Amendment. This is how we behave now.
I have a hard time seeing that outside of the radical left. Okay. So,
of course, because you're wearing a jersey. Of course,
no.
Yes.
In my opinion, if the right takes over a building, we will go through the video and find every single person who even stepped on the wrong side of a blade of grass on January 6th, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
No, I disagree. I disagree with that.
You invade Columbia University, half those people got let go. It has nothing to do with whether or not violence is speech. It has everything to do with whether or not you're on the right side of an issue or not.
Hang on a sec. Let's go back to that January 6th example. Talk to me about how the January 6th protesters are viewed inside of the Republican Party. How does Marjorie Taylor Greene refer to them? How does Donald Trump refer to them? Which party is talking about pardoning them?
So if you hit the cop, I don't know. I've heard plenty of Republicans say, if you hit the cop, you should be prosecuted. But if you crossed over a particular piece of grass, or like the little grandma did that just walked in, and now we're going to prosecute her to the fullest extent of the law while you allow all the Palestinian protesters to go, then it has to do with political prosecution.
And I disagree, because the idea being that Republicans have talked about them being political prisoners, and Donald Trump has talked about them being political prisoners. I completely and totally disagree with that, and especially because they have broken rules and laws. And if you don't want to hold them responsible for that, that's fine. But then don't complain when Columbia doesn't hold them responsible as well. And that's what I'm talking about, is that we have decided that in some cases, violence is acceptable speech. We've decided that what happened on January 6th in some realms, that was okay. That was
I don't think it was okay.
Well, a lot of people think that they should be pardoned. You just called some of them political prisoners. So obviously it would be somewhat okay.
If you got prosecuted to the fullest extent of law for simply crossing over a boundary versus destruction of property, which is what took place in Columbia, and they let them all go, they think like 2 people got prosecuted in that or something, then yeah, there's political prosecution that's taking place. But I want to return to the shooter here.
Yeah.
So you connect all that together.
No, what I'm saying is that he felt aggrieved. He felt that Ukraine was not getting enough attention. He felt that one political party was backing away from a commitment in Ukraine, in which we saw was incredibly important to him. He had gone to Ukraine a number of times, and he was trying to persuade the Ukrainian military to bring in Afghani fighters and special forces, and he was upset.
Right, he's a nut.
Yeah, and he felt, and so he was trying to speak out with Ukraine. No one was listening, so he decided to speak louder.
The Secret Service, the FBI, Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, or Joe Biden responsible at all for the failure of the Secret Service to protect Donald Trump?
Actually, the thing is, the guy never got off a shot at Trump, and he never fired a shot. That is success. Nothing happened. The president was never in immediate danger at that point. In fact, he was discovered as the Secret Service was doing exactly their job, which, unlike the last shooting, I believe there's some serious problems with how I believe this. It's just my personal opinion. I believe the Secret Service got lazy. I believe they had been doing this so often, they figured, we got this, nothing's going to happen, and they became lazy. They forgot about the edge they needed to have. And now I believe this was absolutely the proper instance. It was because Secret Service agents were on the next hole, and that's exactly what they should be doing, scouting the next hole. And because they were doing that, they saw the gun poking through the fence. So that's when they fired at the guy.
Why not the perimeter defense?
What do you mean, the perimeter defense?
So the guys that discovered the dude with the gun were inside the perimeter, saw the gun sticking out.
Yeah.
Why weren't they standing out there on the street? Why wasn't somebody with a gun out there?
Right. Again, what was a person on the street going to do on the size of a golf course? You know how big those are? There's an enormous perimeter. Unless you are going to act like when the president is playing, you're going to place guards every 10 to 15 feet like you do in a military base. It's just ridiculous. And that is a ridiculous use of manpower. The issue being that they needed to stay with him and they move along. And unless we are going to talk about the idea that all of these presidents, because of what's happening, need to be traveling with a sniper team, because those are the type of weapons we've made available to the regular public and the crazy people and upset people that want to do this.
Do we make AK-47s available to the public?
Yes, absolutely. Well, not AK-47s, but the AR-15s, yes.
But that's what he had. I thought he had an AK-47.
I think it's an AR. I think it's an AR model. But even then, you can buy AK-47s as well fairly easily. I have several friends of mine that own them. It's not that difficult. But again, the issue is, are we worried about whether or not he has access to guns? Because we don't talk about that ever. We're not worried about that access. That's not the issue. And that's why I'm coming at this saying, no, this is how we have turned, in my mind, we've turned the Second Amendment into the First. We have decided that if you're upset enough with whatever it is, you're going to have the ability to act out this way for whatever it is that is making you mad. The guy in Boulder with the King Super shooting, the people that walked into schools,
that's acceptable. I don't know who's saying that's acceptable.
We don't decide to do anything about it. So we've decided it is the cover charge of American society. We don't decide to do any. This is the only country when these things happen regularly, and we just stand around and go, nope, nothing we can do. We're not saying this is acceptable.
Nothing that we can do. You have.
That's what people say.
You have
nothing
background checks.
How long did it take to get to that place, though? I mean, seriously, the number of years I stood arguing with people going, oh, we can't have background checks. That's awful. That's a government registration. How do you possibly know who's buying the gun if you don't do that? The number of times and the pushback.
Right, but we have those now.
Finally. And even there's some people that want to take those away.
But you said we don't do anything about this.
Yes, we don't. We don't try to. We don't. Again, I go back to the plane story. We had one dude one time take his shoes off and try to blow him up on the plane, and from evermore, we've all had to take our shoes off at the airport. One dude did something one time. We have things happening.
But tell me what you want to do that doesn't
year.
threaten the Second Amendment rights of Americans.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the idea of how we agree about and what the Second Amendment is, and that's the idea. Is we've decided the guns are more important than the people. That's okay.
I don't know if you can say that.
Oh, sure.
I think the guns protect the people.
But you just said that. Tell me what we can do without threatening the Second Amendment, as if the threat is not to the people, not the people that are being shot all the time. The threat is to the amendment. That's what we're worried about.
And to the freedom of Americans.
Yeah, we're not worried about the people that got killed in the Boulder King Supers. We're not worried about the people that were shot in the schools. We're not worried about the person that took two shots.
What often happens, Bill, what often happens is that you have things in place to try to prevent these, and they aren't followed. So go to the Georgia high school shooting, for instance. The FBI, watch the video where the FBI shows up on this guy's doorstep and starts asking him questions. And then the dad goes out and decides that the best thing to do is to buy his son an AR-15. But now the dad's going to be prosecuted for this.
But the kid just made a threat. That was his free speech. What possible up until
That's
the point
not free speech. You don't have free speech to threaten people.
No,
you cannot incite violence against people.
No, there are all sorts of things you can say instead of public and post about inciting violence. We have a whole list of things. We have people that are both Democrats and Republicans talking about inciting violence against people. We have a list of it. You have a supercut this morning of Democrats inciting violence against people, and I've got some with Trump saying the same thing. That's fine. That's what we do. The issue is we're allowing the individuals that are motivated by that the ability to act out on it. That's okay. That's what we've decided.
It's the cover charge. It's hard for me to understand the word allow.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, you have a guy with an AK-47 with a scope. If it's the same guy, back in 2002, he barricades himself in South Carolina with a weapon. Somehow, years later, is able to purchase an AK-47. Then, with a president that has golfing on his schedule that's not public, this guy figures it out. He gets within 300, 400, 500 yards of the president. There's no perimeter there. The FBI and the Secret Service have said that he's not getting the same security if he was the sitting president. They know the amount of threats against this guy. The president and vice president are not doing what's necessary in order to protect him. I think this is a sign of flagrant disregard for the safety of a political opponent. And I think that the Biden-Harris presidency is entirely incompetent. And this is just another example of that.
But no former president gets the same protection as the sitting president.
But this is different. This is way different.
Why is this
Donald
different?
Trump is, well, one, he's running for president again. But the threat level against him versus George Bush or Bill Clinton is night and day. And the Secret Service needs to take it more seriously.
I don't see where they're not taking it seriously. They stopped this guy before he even got a shot off at him. And they were doing exactly what they should do.
How did the guy find out where the president was going to be?
I doubt it was because the Secret Service told him.
This was not on the public calendar.
That's fine.
So how did this guy find out? 2, I think the perimeter should have been stronger. You allowed the guy to get in.
But the holes are near roads.
There should have been Secret Service with dogs on the perimeter.
I'm not sure that stops any of it because you can always come in from another side, and that's how many Secret Service people and how many dogs. And that's the thing. The idea is it's
that perimeter was totally exposed. There was nobody, from what we understand right now with the Secret Service, there was nobody on that perimeter. They were all interior. And it took a guy with binoculars seeing a rifle pop out of a bush to fire back in that direction.
And
there should have been Secret Service on that perimeter.
No, it happened as it should. There's no reason to have the Secret Service on the perimeter, and the guy can go around other areas.
There's no reason. There's a guy with an AK-47 sticking a gun through a bush.
Yeah, that's
a good reason.
That was hundreds of yards away, and he didn't get off a shot. The Secret Service did what they needed to in this situation.
That particular Secret Service
because this is how we function in society. Yes, this is what we've decided. Yes.
I don't get that. I don't get that.
I know. I don't understand it either, but we've decided it.
Right. Give us a call. Where do you line up on this? I see this as a tremendous systemic problem within the Biden-Harris administration because they're incompetent. They're incompetent on the border. They're incompetent on Afghanistan. They're incompetent in Israel. They're incompetent with China. They cannot manage the Secret Service. They cannot protect a opposing presidential candidate because I think deep down in their hearts, they don't care to protect him. I think this is one of the most incompetent presidential administrations in history, and you see it continue to play out over and over and over again. Or do you agree with Billy? Is this part of a broader systemic social problem with the Second Amendment and speech issues? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You can text us at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Look, are you a homeowner who's considering selling your home? Like Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team used their database of over 14,700 ready buyers to get your home sold for top dollar. Many real estate agents made promises, but very few have the proof to back it up. The Empower Home team has review after review from families they have served that back up what they say. They net their sellers 6.1% more on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. No matter who wins in elections, no matter what kind of market we're in, the Empower Home team brings both experience and track record to help you navigate your home sale and get you top dollar. If your home doesn't sell, Gay Ribble will buy it. That's her guarantee to you. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just frustrating news over the weekend. Secret Service agents opened fire on suspect carrying firearm near Trump while golfing. This guy is a total kind of Ukraine nut. But this is, again, the second assassination attempt against Donald Trump in 60 days. Prior to this, you really had no real assassination attempts where they got close to hitting the president since Reagan. I think that this is indicative of the failure across the board of the Biden-Harris administration to do anything well, whether it's the border, Afghanistan withdrawal, dealing with China, dealing with Ukraine, dealing with Israel. And it's systemic from the very top. Do you believe we really have a president in control of this country right now? Biden, Harris, the head of the FBI, Mayorkas, all the way down. It fails, and you're getting attempts like this. Let's go to the phone lines. Tony, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. So I don't want to argue your premise, although I disagree entirely. I mean, there's not complete incompetence all the way down. You list off China, Ukraine, and Israel, and I would make an argument to take it. We could spend 30 minutes on it. That no, those entities have been handled pretty damn well. Now, as there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of confusing information that's come out about this shooting so far, and I don't think it's an AK. I think it was an AR-15, still a powerful weapon. I don't think he even had line of sight on the president, because he was too far back. The Secret Service was doing their job the way that is designed to be done, and you could make the case, well, he needs to have the protection of the president. Well, that's not the policy that they had in place right now. Maybe they'll change that policy. The issue I think that is going to be, it's already started, is it last night with a lot of Republican congressmen and senators and so forth saying this is all caused because the left is saying that Trump is a threat to democracy, and that's what's causing these assassination attempts. And that is really the more dangerous issue that at play right now is them.
Tony, how is that the more dangerous issue? Telling people to calm down the rhetoric is dangerous?
They're blaming it when they say they're blaming it on the left. And I'm hoping the left doesn't buy off on that in any way, shape, or form. You remember, you've got hundreds of Republicans that are saying he's not capable of being president, including the vice president. The last vice president has. So the right is the one that they're not voting for Kamala because of policy. They're voting against Trump because they believe he's a danger to democracy. So if anybody's to blame, which nobody's really to blame, because the first shooter was not politically aligned at all, the one in Pennsylvania. This guy, we don't know that we don't know enough to say, did he have a political alignment? We know he voted for Trump. We know he got pissed off at Trump. We don't know why he got pissed off at Trump, but they know he's disenchanted.
Tony,
Maybe
please tell me
you're
not blaming the victim.
I'm not blaming the victim. I'm saying you got lunatics out there. That's the whole point. These are two lunatics. Right now, the first guy was a lunatic. had nothing to do with the Democrats, or the right or the left
But
motivating
Tony,
him.
when you say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, if you really believe that he is like Hitler, aren't you inspiring people to go out there and commit these acts?
I forget what I'm saying. I'm the 200 Republicans, the Republicans that had served him, most of his cabinet, most of his former cabinet, aides to him, aides to Bush, aides to every Republican that have lined up to say this guy can't be in office. This guy's a threat. He's a threat to democracy. Now that's Republicans. So if anybody's to blame, then it would be Republicans, because they're out there. Who have you ever heard a vice president of a party saying, I'm not voting for him, voting against him? That's Republican motivated, not Democrat. And my point is, it's really neither, because as of right now, neither of these guys has been proven to be politically aligned at all. The first guy certainly wasn't. He was looking up
Tony,
Biden, and
it's only happening to one guy right now.
But
it's only happening to one
stay
guy.
with the facts. The first guy, the facts on the first guy is he was searching both of them, and it just so happened that Trump was going to be in his neighborhood, and that's why he picked on Trump. Had it have been Biden,
we don't know that. We haven't even gotten the report out on the first assassination attempt.
The FBI has released that information that he was searching out both candidates and trying to find out their paths and where they were going. And then Trump happened to land pretty close to his neighborhood, and so that was the guy he went after. That is a fact. That they know. The second guy is still, there's a lot of unknown about this guy right now. What they do know is he was a Trump supporter.
And he donated 19 times to the Democrats.
Yeah, $1 to $25. Yes, $1 to $25.
Yes,
various donations and
all right,
but various donations. But that doesn't make him. That doesn't make him a radical Democrat.
I'm not saying he's a radical Democrat. What I'm talking about is this happens, and this seems to target one guy. One guy. The FBI knows about these threats. The Secret Service knows about these threats. They're not providing the right, responsible protection for President Trump. Where was the dog on the perimeter? Where was the dog and the Secret Service member on the perimeter?
Where was the threat? What threat were they made aware of?
Yeah, you want him to have.
What threat? No, Tony, hang on. What threat were they made aware of? I'm not aware of any
60
intelligence.
days ago, a guy took a shot at the president of the former president of the United States.
Yeah, and
hit him in the ear.
Yeah, and we had a school shooting between now and then as well, and some other shootings as well.
And we're keeping and maintaining his security below that of a sitting president. It should be improved.
Well, they changed some of the protocols, and they've gone in. We've got an investigation going on right now. But again, I don't understand. There wasn't anything prior to this that said there was going to be a threat.
You don't know that.
Well, we haven't seen anything so far, and you don't either. But you assumed it a second ago.
Two
You assumed it a second ago.
Assassination attempts against the former president of the United States.
We had no information about the second one prior.
You don't know that.
But you've assumed that. You just have in your argument.
No,
you've assumed
I'm pointing the fact that there's been two guns within one that took out part of his ear, another one that was about to shoot him, and we're still saying that we don't know if there's continued active threats against him.
No, I'm just saying that this is just American society. This is what we do.
Oh,
we have them in schools.
This is an incompetent administration. Tony, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely, this is an incompetent administration.
Yeah, the incompetent administration that has record levels in Dow Jones, record corporate profits, things like that. Again, if we can go back to the idea of Afghanistan, but part of the issue of Afghanistan, it's a way longer path, was that there are some blame on both sides, because part of the issue being the number of bases that Trump had closed down before the evacuation. So you end up with a bottleneck of only being able to get people out through one specific location. That's a problem, as far as strategy.
There's always
That's a problem
always
in
an
people.
excuse.
No,
Always
it's not an
excuse.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm not saying the Biden administration did what they should have there. I'm just saying that it was already set up to be a bad situation because of how the negotiation for the removal had taken place.
I will tell you, I am
situation.
at a point now with this Secret Service protection where I think this is woefully and purposely inadequate
Yeah.
in an effort to threaten his life. I can't see any other reason.
The issue is you keep coming to this idea. It can be woeful and inadequate, but you keep coming to the conclusion that
I think it's purpose. I think it's purposeful at this point.
I know, just like you think that the law cases are purposeful and that the election was stolen from him that was purposeful. We see all
100%.
of these things that were purposeful.
Yes.
And
Look
none
at
of
where
them
we
have turned
are.
out, and none of them have turned out to be true. The
What do
election
you
wasn't
mean
stolen
none
from
of
him.
them have turned out
The
to be
election
true.
wasn't stolen from him.
It was rigged.
No, it wasn't.
It was rigged in the same
No, it
way we're
wasn't.
dealing with it now on all the social media sites. That
No, it
was
wasn't.
not a fair election.
Okay, sure.
You think it was
Yeah.
a fair election?
Yeah.
You think the Zuck bucks, you think all that stuff was fair to Donald Trump?
Oh, fair to Donald Trump. That's the issue. And so it's just a matter of.
I just raised whether or not it was a fair election.
Yeah, it was a fair
Was
election.
it a fair election?
Yes, it was a fair election.
With
Nobody
Google
has shown
and
any.
social media and
no
Twitter
one has shown any fraud.
and
That's
all
fine.
of the effort to shut down Hunter Biden's laptop case.
Hunter
That
Biden
was
wasn't-
a fair election.
Hunter Biden wasn't running for anything at the time, and there are no crimes connected to Joe on the laptop. No, Jeff, this is legit.
Bill,
There's no
this
crimes
was
connected
not a
to
fair
Joe
election
on
in
there.
2020.
And Fox News paid almost $800 million because they couldn't prove a single thing as far as fraud or unfair election. That's it. They wrote the check because they couldn't prove it. They had the opportunity, but they wrote the check. They had no proof.
You know
You
that
have feelings.
they
You have to prove.
changed the rules in order to help Democrats in that election.
Those rules.
No, they did.
Those rules were changed in some cases
And-
by Republican legislative
I don't
bodies,
care if it was
and they
Republicans
were changed
or not. It
and
was
they were
changed
Oh,
in an
okay.
effort to help the Democrats.
So
those rules
You're
did
right.
not. Do you think those rules were fair?
Obviously.
Do you think the social media treatment of
Hang on
Donald
a sec.
Trump
Wait, stop.
was fair?
Stop.
You think all that was fair?
Your conclusion, because you need it to be unfair, is that the Republican state legislatures, in some cases, changed the rules to help the Democrats. That's where we've gotten. That's where.
How many Democrats helped
yours?
that?
In order to make
how many Democrat legislatures? How many Republican legislatures? I don't know. I'm asking you. How
I'm
many
asking-
Republicans
the
and
one
how
they
many
look at-
Democrat legislatures?
The one we look at the most that everyone's mad about is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a bunch of Republicans in the legislature that changed the rules. It was them.
And then how many Democrats?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking at that because the issue. I don't know as the bounty of all of them, but everybody always focuses on a few swing states. When it happened in other states in which Trump won, it happened in other states in which Biden won that weren't swing states. But we only seem to focus on these couple because they make us mad, and we're mad about fraud because they've come to
I will go
a
with
conclusion.
2020. I'll go with the lawfare
Yeah.
that's been implemented against him. I'll go with
Again, no
all
proof
the
of that,
impeachment
but that's okay.
efforts. All the impeachment efforts while he was president. Yes, this
all
is
of them. There
all
were two, and they both were
willful.
They were both,
And
they
this
were
is
both
all a
legit.
deliberate effort to harm Donald Trump.
And the impeachment efforts against Mayorkas and everything else weren't to harm Joe Biden. That's the issue. Is you're coming to the conclusion that these things are done, these machinations are done to harm other political party. Okay, fine.
So you
But I disagree.
you want to make the argument that the Mayorkas impeachment effort was honest?
No, but I'm saying it was done to
so
hurt
it's
them.
not honest when it's the Republicans.
No, here's
but
the thing.
it's an honest
No.
effort when
Wait.
it's the Democrats.
Hang on, no. I didn't say necessarily honest when the impeachment sides were legit based on what they did, but it was dishonest, especially the second one. The first one they had stuff on him. He wasn't getting convicted.
On the
it was
Ukraine
stupid.
call?
Yeah, he did. He withheld funding based on wanting Zelensky to invent an investigation that didn't exist.
We're
That's
running
exactly
out
what
of
it is.
time
I
here,
know.
but Bill,
But
I'm
we
going to
gotta
go
beyond
back to
this.
it.
We got to go
All
beyond this.
that-
We got to go back forward to the
all
shooting.
that,
This is just this
and
is
now we're dealing with assassination attempts. I'm just supposed to be like, well, Secret Service did their job. Come on, this thing is all
they did. He didn't
rigged.
get shot at.
We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to simmer down now and give the people what they want. A little You Choose the News.
Yes, time for the silly portion of this morning where we take our own careers into our hands and make questionable decisions. We call it You Choose the News. We've scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find ridiculous stories about us humans. I have them here in my hand. I've given them even dumber headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because nobody that is in charge has any idea we're doing this. It is a complete secret. They don't know, so we'd appreciate you keeping it silent. So shh. Alrighty. Blake Olson, Jeff Hunt. Here are our choices, gentlemen. Quick, grab the magic spray. Headline number 1. Headline number 2, not drizzle, but Intellion. Headline number 3, follow your dreams right off a cliff. And headline number 4, it builds character. Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Let's follow your dreams.
Yes, need to follow your dreams, but sometimes they may just lead you off a cliff. That is what David Moot is finding out at Cape Cod. He has bought his dream home, $395,000. That's quite a bargain, given that it's almost $1.2 million for the asking price of that same house in 2022. Yes, he got a 67% discount because in the next 5 years, the house is going to fall off a cliff. Yes, he has a beautiful view, but based on erosion, there's a cliff in front of him that is crumbling. He's only got 25 feet of it left, and the environmental people in charge and housing people say, yeah, I got about 5 more years before this thing just goes off the cliff. And he said, well, for the 5 years, I'm going to.
How much did you pay for it?
$395,000. Was originally $1.2 million.
That's a lot of money for a view for 5 years.
I know, but he said, hey, you only live once. Maybe only once if you stay in the house and falls off the cliff.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's just going to go with it.
Exactly. All righty. Blake Olson in the newsroom. Quick, grab the magic spray. Not drizzle, but Intellion, or it builds character.
Hey, let's go with the magic spray.
Yes, quick, grab the magic spray. People that are soccer fans will understand. They got this weird magic spray they seem to be able to spray on you, and all of your injuries go away. They should have used that recently on Victor Abreu. He plays for Bolton Wanderers in League One, the 3rd tier of English soccer, and he was out of this weekend's match because of a very, very strong sneeze. Yes, he sneezed so hard that he pulled a muscle in his back, separating muscles between his ribs.
Absolutely, somebody
and it
do at
hurts.
my age now.
Yeah, so he's like, wow. Yeah. And the coach was saying, yeah, he's a powerful boy. Even his sneezes are powerful. And yeah, he's on the injured reserve right now for a sneeze. That's great.
Soccer blows.
That is fantastic. Nicely done, my friend. Alrighty, Jeff Hunt, final choice this morning, sir. Not drizzle, but Intellion, or it builds character.
It builds character.
It does build character. You know, it's really nice. We've been talking about this morning some of the dumb things our government has been doing or not doing. It is certainly reassuring when we find other governments making stupid choices as well. Here we talk about the Canadian Army. Recently, the Canadian Army spent nearly $38 million upgrading sleeping bags for their soldiers. The soldiers were headed to a joint northern exercise in Alaska with Americans, and they wanted to make sure their soldiers were warm. So whoever actually ordered the new general purpose sleeping bag system didn't check what the temperature ratings were because it was not rated for Alaskan temperatures. All the soldiers were freezing cold. It didn't work at that level. Yes, $35 million buying the wrong sleeping bags.
I've done winter mountaineering, and it really comes down to your sleeping bag and your shoes.
Yeah, it does. Sleeping bag, shoes. Yep, you sleep. Yeah, you sleep in your socks.
Everything else falls apart.
Everything else does, and it's ridiculous. And I still love the fact that $35 million, and no one bothered to check whether or not the sleeping bags.
What was the country there?
Canada, right above us, America's hat. Yeah, exactly. So
it's
they appreciate
down.
when you pronounce
it's
it that way.
It's just down.
I know.
You got to get down sleeping bags, and you live in Canada.
Exactly. Of all the people that would know what sleeping bags to buy, you'd have figured to be the maple syrup lovers, but no. That's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. Thank you so much for playing along, Blake, and back to you, sir.
Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Lauren Boebert, Gabe Evans, both joining us to discuss the assassination attempt, the second one in 60 days against Donald Trump. My goodness, what are we coming to? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Yesterday, good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill's Coast Better than KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and Honda's takes from the right, left, and center. I would say it's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, but man, am I frustrated after a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump, and I'm wondering, what is our country coming to? Here is a presidential candidate that the radical left has tried to stop. They've tried to sue. They've tried to bankrupt. And now he's facing not one, but two assassination attempts. Yeah. My goodness. And we want to seem to blame everybody else rather than the radical left on this. It's the guns. It's the rhetoric. It's his rhetoric. It's, like Tony said, it's the other Republicans that are trying to raise the alarm that Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. My goodness. Yeah,
Tony was saying if it's the rhetoric, then you got to have some on each side, which I understand. And I understand the idea. And again, if it is all based on the rhetoric and the words we're using, then whatever happened to like things like the thing we used to yell on the playground, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Now we are blaming the names. We're saying, no, those names now can cause harm. That's interesting. That is an interesting conversation to have, that it is the words, not the actions of the person, that are the ones that are to blame and responsible.
I mean, do you think the rhetoric is actually the same on both sides?
I think it is comparable. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I mean, you have, who's that lady that held up the head of Donald Trump with the blood?
Oh,
Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin.
You have Kathy Griffin. You have Eminem. You have plays about stabbing Donald Trump. You have rap videos where a Donald Trump clown gets shot in the head. I just don't see that on the other side. Maybe where's it on the right?
Just yesterday, Elon Musk lamented why, after we have two shootings towards Donald Trump, nobody's taking a shot at either Biden or Harris. He lamented that on a social media platform.
Well, that's wrong.
Well, I know, but when we're talking about
the breadth.
But when we're talking about the language, yeah. How many times have we heard that the radical leftists are going to destroy America? They're turning us into Marxists and communists. How many times have we told they're going to tear this country apart? That we are going to have a horrible crash. You're never going to have elections
and
again.
Does it result in the same types of violence?
No, what I'm talking about the rhetoric that is used. It's similar on both sides as far as this alarmism about things that are going to happen if you don't take some sort of an action. But what we can't see so far is that in the first shooting, that any of that rhetoric persuaded that first shooter to do it. We have no indications. We have none, so we can't assume.
We're waiting on the report.
I know, but
so we've now had two assassination attempts before the first one even comes out.
On that first one, we can't make an assumption based on political motivation. We have no information. We can't say that it is.
I can assume they're shooting at the same dude.
Well, yeah, but we shoot at people all the time in this country.
It's amazing to me. We are willing to. We will flip over every rock to try to find any other excuse other than the fact that they seem to be targeting the same guy. They're going after the same guy with lawfare. They're trying to bankrupt him. Now he's dealt with two assassination attempts, and yet somehow, we shoot at other guys. All right, we'll get to the phone lines in just a second. By the way, the phone lines are open. We're having quite a debate this morning. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 56 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 82 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
1:30 this afternoon, call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area.
58-year-old Ryan Ruth is the alleged gunman who was waiting to target former President Trump on his Florida golf course on Sunday. Secret Service agents engaged Ruth in the woods near the fifth hole where Trump was getting ready to putt. Ruth was armed with an AK-style rifle equipped with a scope. Ruth is a nutter who believes the drive-by media. Before returning to the States, he was in Ukraine trying to recruit people to fight Russia.
It blows my mind that I'm standing here alone without thousands of people from every country, from Asia, from Africa, from Australia, from Canada, from everywhere in South America, every place. I'm
Europe.
Europe, everywhere. We need everybody here. If you have no skills, just come. We need to be cheerleaders. Just being here and saying, hey, I support the Ukrainians and I support human rights.
All right. The White House said President Biden and Kamala Khan have been briefed. Attempt number 2 now. Tucker Carlson hit it on the head before the first attempt, long before the first attempt.
They called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work. What's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion.
So who does messy NBC blame? Not the shooter, not the lame brain media, DJT.
Do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started.
These guys are great commies. About 6 soldiers laying their lives on the line for our country heard Kamala Khan say this at last week's debate.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this. Wait, what? But let's understand. So where are we right now?
So you heard one of the soldiers there. He pans across the room, and you see him and 5 other heroes stationed on foreign soil, and they're like, "What is she talking about?" So he dropped the F-bomb. I took that out, but she wants to be the commander-in-chief. Amazing. Authorities are investigating the death of a 2-month-old baby in Brighton last month as a homicide. Police say officers were dispatched on August 17th to an apartment complex on South 18th Avenue on reports of a baby not breathing. The baby was taken to the hospital where the child died 8 days later. The child's biological father, Donnie Casados, has been identified as a suspect and is currently in custody on unrelated charges. One of the members of the Jackson 5, Tito Jackson, is dead at the age of 70. He had a heart attack. Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6. Denver is now 0-2. The Steelers 2-0. 53 in Lakewood, 54 in Inglewood, and 56 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies after morning sunshine across Denver and the Front Range. Going to have a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the lower 80s today with lows tonight in the mid-50s. Little better chance for showers and thunder. Some stronger gusts possible on your Tuesday. Highs will be in the mid-80s with lows lower 50s. Sunny, dry Wednesday. Highs mid-80s. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
right. Lots of discussion today. Unfortunately, a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump in 60 days.
It's crazy. It really is.
Let's go to the phone lines. John Lakewood, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning. I'll try to make this fast, but I got a funny way of looking at things. But we've had 2 shootings. We ought to learn from it. That deal in Pennsylvania, that was terrible. Incompetence, it was terrible. What happened yesterday at the golf course, you got the guy that saw that gun barrel going through the fence, that's a great guy, I think. He's doing his job.
Yeah, the Secret Service agent by far absolutely responded well. But I do have concerns about whether or not they're putting the resources necessary to protect Donald Trump. Look, I've been around presidential candidates. I remember when Rick Santorum got Secret Service. I was with Mitt Romney when he got Secret Service. And I hosted Donald Trump at the Western Conservative Summit. Donald Trump's Secret Service, vastly different. Vastly different. It wasn't dudes in suits. It was men with long guns and full body armor. I think the Secret Service knows he has the threat level against him far greater than any other president we've probably ever seen. And I keep in mind the fact that half the country wanted to kill Abraham Lincoln. But I think the Secret Service knows that, but I do have concerns systemically about whether or not the Secret Service is really taking the threats fully and really protecting the president. What do you think, John?
Well, yes, I kind of agree, but then you got to be careful. Maybe I'm nuts, but, in my line of work, framing a house, everybody says, if you're going to frame a house, how many men do you need? You need 3. 2 is not enough. You get 4. It's not efficient. You're walking all over everybody, and everybody's in everybody's way. And I think you have to look into that in police work. If you put a bunch of money and more people, you may not be getting.
John, we're losing you there, I think. John, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Let's go to Chad Greeley. Chad, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Chad.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. When Trump talks about a wreck, that's a financial wreck coming. He's talking about, I think there is a huge discrepancy in America where if you state reality, people take it as being mean, in course. And a lot of it, nowadays, people can't see past themselves to see a bigger picture, to understand anything that's not pleasant. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I can see that. But the thing is, I've heard violent rhetoric on both sides. And I understand what you're saying about Trump talking about the destruction of the country, but he is saying destruction of America. He's saying that we won't have elections, that you won't recognize our country anymore. And we have the North Carolina GOP gubernatorial nominee recently saying that some people just need killing. We can go back to Sarah Palin and her idea that we may have to resort to Second Amendment solutions. Tom Cotton, during some of the protests during Black Lives Matter, suggested that maybe some of those protesters should be shoved off a bridge in order to teach them a lesson. So we have violent rhetoric on both sides. I can keep going and keep going and keep going. We have lawsuits that were filed by the 2 election workers in Georgia based on threats that they received because of falsities that were told about them during the 2020 election.
Politicians will be politicians, but if America does not, wake up to the fact that Harris, the Democrats didn't even get a primary, and that's not even being talked about. So you might not, with him saying that there might not be elections, well, it kind of looks like it's headed that way.
Well, here's the thing is that in the primary, they did vote for the Biden-Harris ticket. And each political party can, on their own, decide how they want to choose their nominee. if the Democrats next time around wanted to have a giant squirt gun fight
Sort
and have
of.
it on, and have it on.
Republicans
No,
in Colorado cannot choose their nominee. They have an open primary.
Yeah.
Independents get to vote in it.
No, but there are ways that they could change how everything goes and say, nope, we're not going through primaries and assemblies and something else. We're going to do a giant tug of war.
They're trying to sue to
but
do
they could,
that.
But they could go giant tug of war. They could do huge game of hide and go seek and tag, freeze tag, whatever it is. You're allowed to choose that. And the Democrats did that at this time. I disagree with it. That's okay. Let them be them.
Chad, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Man.
Thank you.
All right, want to talk to you about my good friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner in the courtroom. In fact, he's so trusted that Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm. For serious cases, Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. Joining us now on the Jeff and Bill Show, Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Congressional District 3. Congresswoman, you saw what happened yesterday. Give us your reaction.
Well, my first reaction was to pray, not knowing what was going on. But again, here, my former president, my future president, my friend, is in a situation where, we're looking at an assassination attempt again. And this is so frustrating, especially when I see the rhetoric from the left-wing media. They're blaming this all on President Trump and saying that this is his fault for inciting violence and his rhetoric and this and that. President Trump is just plainly putting out what Americans are going through, what is happening to our country, the steady decline under the Biden-Harris administration, the wide open borders, the inflation, the rising crime rates that he was proven accurate on, by the way, after the debate when the sorority sister tried to fact check President Trump. But in all of this, he is trying to communicate the frustration and the message of Americans. And they're going to say, well, he's getting shot at. People are attempting to assassinate him because of his rhetoric. And this is all your fault. No, it's their description of him. It's what they put out about him. It's how they rile up their base. This was a crazy left-wing liberal, and maybe not all liberals are crazy. I would love to meet one. But, this was a radical, left-wing liberal. And, and then I'm even seeing reports that he was in the Ukrainian army. He spends his time on social media. He actually does have a digital fingerprint, unlike the first attempted assassin. So we know more about this guy, but this has got to stop. It is getting more and more dangerous just to stand up for what's right in our country.
I've watched them, especially the media, try to explain this out in every other possible way. Here is a man who the radical left rigged elections against, rigged debates against, impeached 2 times, have tried to bankrupt, put in jail, bring about the full weight of lawfare against him. Mm-hmm. He's now faced 2 assassination attempts, and somehow it's still Donald Trump's fault that this is happening to him?
Right. It's absolutely insane. I was at Rocky Mountain Voice last night with Heidi Ganahl, and I said something very similar. This is a man who they have tried to destroy by any means necessary. 2 sham impeachments in the House, and this election interference to prevent him from going there. And just like you said, the lawfare that's gone on, the political persecution, they tried to assassinate his character. They tried to jail him. They tried to assassinate him twice. And, thank God he's a bulletproof president, that he has the blood of Jesus and the grace of God covering him. And that's very obvious, but this is not his fault. He has said for years, they are not after me, they are after you. I'm just in the way. And he proves that to be more and more true, unfortunately, every day with something very tangible.
Now, we're talking with Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Congressional District 3, for now, soon to be Congresswoman from Congressional District 4. You sit on the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Are we providing enough oversight and accountability to the Secret Service and the FBI?
No, absolutely not. And even when we do our jobs to bring them in and have that oversight and hold them accountable, they lie to us. And they do not provide the information necessary. I mean, we saw with Director Cheadle, she went through more than half of the committee before she even admitted that she actually did have information, but the FBI just wouldn't let her say it. And so throughout all of this, we are lied to by the Biden-Harris administrative bureaucrats and their political appointees, rather than getting the truth. Now, President Trump says that he's going to put Elon in charge of a government efficiency agency, the director of the government efficiency agency. And they say that this is to look over all of the federal government, all of their spending, and to hold them accountable. And I said, man, we used to call that Congress, but now we need a special commission to go after these bureaucrats and these agencies to actually hold them accountable. But maybe there will be some authority there, or something to enforce truth and answers, because everything is under investigation, and we are gaslit just like the American people are, and straight lied to.
Where's the president and vice president in all this?
Well, the current sitting resident of the White House, I haven't heard from him. And, Kamala Harris, I don't know if they're sitting there shaking their head and saying, man, we missed again, or what it is. But, there needs to be accountability there as well. It's their rhetoric as well. And they need to come out and do something about all the media that is being said about Donald Trump and about his supporters, everything that is being hidden. The ABC the ABC debate, the moderators did not even bring up the assassination attempt, and it would not have been mentioned if President Trump didn't mention it himself. And then he was hurried along to the next topic, probably to discuss race or something. But in all of this, they need to come out and put a stop to this, but they won't. They will continue to blame President Trump.
I don't know where the leadership is. I wish we had a president of the United States that would pick up the phone and go, not on my watch. I am not going to live in a country. I am not going to lead a country where even my political rivals are facing assassination attempts. Secret Service, figure it out. Get the resources you need, get the people, get the leadership necessary to protect what we think is a great country. Stop allowing this to happen. I don't feel like that leadership is coming from either President Biden or Vice President Harris at all.
No, absolutely not. And then, of course, we have Secretary Mayorkas, who's been impeached in Department of Homeland Security, and there's rumors and some reporting of DHS leaking President Trump's whereabouts. So this does need to come from the top, and they need to put a stop to it, but they won't. Everything that we are seeing, the decline, the destruction, this is all meant to create chaos, to overwhelm the system and say it doesn't work, so we have to have a new system anyway. And they will do anything to stop President Trump. And even if it's not them directly, well, there's other people out there who are willing to take the fall. to try to stop him from being president.
Talking with Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Congressional District 3. It's frustrating that this has happened again, a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Do you think he's going to continue to do live rallies? Do you think he'll be outside? Are they going to try to force him inside? I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to want to campaign from his basement for the next 50 days.
No, and he won't. And certainly they may try to rearrange some things to have him perform more inside events, but I don't know if he's going to allow that. I don't know. It's always up to President Trump, and he has a way of doing things, and he is determined. But I would just encourage people to continue to pray for him, to pray for his protection, to pray Psalm 91 over him, and to just have that hedge of protection as he abides in the shadow of the Almighty. This is what we need right now for him, because he's going to make his own decision on where to hold these rallies, and he's not going to the basement. He's not going to stay at Mar-a-Lago for 55 days. He is going to be out with people, just like Kamala Harris sat and debate prepped for a week or more. Well, President Trump was out with people before the debate, up until the debate. I mean, he brought guests on his plane with him just so they could experience the debate. And that's the kind of man that he is, a man of the people who wants the best for this country. He laid it all down, a billionaire, because he loves America and he loves the people. Kamala Harris can talk about her new path forward, but she is the current path. If she wanted a new path, it could be new right now. President Trump's path is also new, but we know from experience that it's going to be something that benefits our country and our allies throughout the world. I mean, there's so many new policies that he is introducing: no tax on tips and Social Security, and even overtime, no tax on overtime, encouraging people to work, and so much more. But we also, he's going to bring back the great policies that the Harris-Biden administration has undone for the past 3.5 years.
Now, Congresswoman Boebert, final 30 seconds. You faced these types of crazy threats in your own personal life, just being in office. Is this something that just comes with the territory, or do you have a message to the American people right now with regards to tone and rhetoric for people that choose to serve in the public square?
Sure. Well, unfortunately, it does kind of come with the territory in this day and age. But I would say, with your First Amendment right to petition your government with your grievances, I think there should be some level of security and respect and safety that's felt in that. When our lives are threatened for stepping up and doing our job, our part to serve our country, to serve the people that we represent, to legislate on their behalf and make sure that their voices are heard. It's unfortunate when it's dangerous sometimes. I've had very, very credible death threats towards my family and myself. And, I'm not labeling myself as a victim here, but it's unfortunate that it's gotten this nasty, because, you know me very well, and I'm always looking on, the next policy issue that's going to benefit Colorado, and how do we get more water and energy production? How do we, stop the wolves from being here, and all of these things. And it's unfortunate that death threats come along with water storage.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, you can learn more about her at her website, laurenforcolorado.com, laurenforcolorado.com. Thank you so much for joining us on what's a sad day, a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. We appreciate your time this morning, Congresswoman.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Gabe Evans is up next. You're not going to want to miss this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Sad day in America. Assassination attempt number 2 against Donald Trump took place yesterday while he was playing golf down in Florida. We're getting reaction from Colorado's political leaders and soon to be congressman from Congressional District 8. He's the Republican nominee running for that seat is Gabe Evans. Mr. Evans, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
So you heard the news yesterday. Tell us your reaction.
Well, I mean, you know my background. I was a cop for 10 years. I was a soldier for 12 years. And so when I see this, what I see is an administration with their allies in Congress that have prioritized all of the wrong things when it comes to actual security in this country, whether it's securing a former president, whether it's securing our southern border. They got no interest in that. But if it comes to exerting some influence on Facebook to make sure that Facebook is, not allowing stories that are critical of the administration to come to light, they're all in on that when it comes to making sure that parents that have objections to their local school board are potentially tracked as domestic terrorists. They're interested in that sort of stuff. We've literally let 99 folks on the terrorist watch list into the United States. And again, it's because this administration and this administration's allies in Congress have all of the wrong priorities when it comes to security.
Now, Gabe, we were having this debate right before you got on. Very similar. Is this the result of incompetency? Is this the result of, as you mentioned, prioritizing the wrong things? Or does this just happen in this country and it's the result of our gun culture? It's the result of rhetoric on both sides. What are your thoughts?
Again, I was a cop for 10 years. And one of the first things you learn as a police officer is about high 90% of Americans are never going to do anything worse than maybe drive a little fast going to work. A significant percentage of crime, of problems in our society come from about 2 to 3% of individuals who have just decided, you know what, for whatever reason, they're going to follow along with that life of crime. They're going to do bad things. And so if we go look at this individual in this second assassination attempt on former President Trump, we can see he's got a long history of run-ins with law enforcement. This is one of those individuals that potentially is part of that 2 to 3% of folks that cause problems. And those are the individuals that we should be focusing on. Those are the individuals that law enforcement needs to be paying attention to. But when we're instead following Tulsi Gabbard around on airlines, again, to me, this is a prioritization issue. This is also an issue of are we hiring, recruiting, and retaining the best individuals in law enforcement in things like this? And because they don't want to be involved with an organization that is so blatantly politicized.
Talking with Gabe Evans. Now, Gabe, you're running against Yadira Caraveo. She currently has the spot. She's sitting in Congress. Is she providing the necessary leadership for the people of Congressional District 8 to address these issues?
Well, I say very clearly not. It's why 2/3 of the sitting mayors in the district have come out and endorsed me over her. Again, she's the sitting congresswoman. 2/3 of the mayors are supporting me over her because she's not providing the leadership that this district needs. She didn't provide the leadership that America needed when she met with Joe Biden and didn't say anything or do anything about his very clear decline. And so we have to get somebody with real world experience in fixing the problems that are on Americans and Coloradans' mind right now to Congress. I spent almost a year in a combat zone, securing the country from abroad. I spent 10 years as a cop here working to make sure we're safe from crime, from fentanyl, from drug dealers, from transnational criminal organizations here in the Denver metro area. And it's time to take that experience to Congress so that we can fix some of these issues and make sure that the United States stays a safe, free, and prosperous place.
I'm looking at Yadira Caraveo's Twitter account, and she tweeted about you on September 13th. She tweeted about Hispanic Heritage Month about 13 hours ago, and that's it. So no comment made from her yet on this issue.
That's so bad. That's something that the voters really should think about. That regardless of political party and affiliation, when something like this goes on, you need to show respect. You need to show deference and concern. And she should be coming out and and saying something about what happened and how this shouldn't be tolerated. And that's why, again, Gabe, that's why you're here with us today. Can you talk to us about yesterday, where you were when you first heard the news, and given your background, what went through your mind? Because I'm certain that when you hear, okay, an attack was thwarted against a former president and a candidate for president, that not only your police instincts, but also your military instincts kick in. The questions that run through your mind. Where were you when this happened, and what were the questions that you thought about after hearing this happened?
Yeah, so yesterday was Sunday. I was actually still campaigning on Sunday morning into the early afternoon, and I, just checked the news and saw, oh my goodness, are we serious? This has happened again. And then of course my phone starts to buzz and vibrate at me with everybody texting me, did you see the news? Did you see the news? And so a couple of thoughts go through my head. First of all is, we know we have good quality dedicated individuals in some of these organizations. And a lot of times it's a leadership issue. And so my first thought is, are the guys on the ground who are actually having to do the hands-on work of providing security, are they getting the support and the top cover that they need from the higher levels within their organization? Because I've seen that happen through both of my careers. I know what I need on the ground to accomplish my mission, and higher levels of the organization, have different priorities, and so I don't get the resources that I need. So that's the first thing that pops into my head is what are the actual boots on the ground guys going through? Is they're kind of caught in this push-pull between protecting President Trump, and then also, as I said, the misprioritization and the lack of sufficient resources from the higher echelons in the order, in their organization. So that's the first thought that goes through my head. Of course, the second thought is always just a very, sense of gratefulness that once again, this assassination attempt was in fact thwarted. Because I'm so glad that we're talking today about how to do better with President Trump still alive, because this would be so much worse if that individual had actually succeeded.
Talking with Gabe Evans, he's running for Congress. His website, electgabeevans.com, electgabeevans.com. Just a few more questions. Let's talk about the Secret Service actual protection out there. They're saying, look, he's not an existing president. The amount of protection is not going to match that because he's not the head of state. And if you have an attack against the head of state, well, then you throw the entire government into disarray. Should there have been Secret Service on the perimeter? Should there have been a dog walking that perimeter, checking those bushes along with the president, just instead of just being entirely inside and on the golf course? Should there have been greater protection there?
Clearly, this has happened twice now in a couple of months. That's what's called a trend. So at this point, we know that he's very clearly a target. And we know that there's probably going to continue to be people that are making these attempts. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter whether he's the head of state now or not. We know he's a target. There's been 2 attempts. And so we need to do what is necessary to make sure that he stays safe. It's as simple as that.
Gabe, final question for you. I don't know any specifics. I don't know if this has happened to you, but I imagine running for office, you've dealt with people that have shared a lot of frustration and anger, maybe even threatening you at some point. What's your message to the American people about tone, about rhetoric? Does this just come with running for office? America's always had these problems, or is this something we need to address?
And so this is something, that again goes back to my law enforcement career. One of the statistics that I'm most proud of during the 10 years that I worked in law enforcement was I went to probably tens of thousands of calls for service and made hundreds of arrests. And I only ever got into 2 fights because I have that ability to have those conversations with folks, to find common ground. There's a story I tell about an individual who was high on some pretty bad news drugs. And I was still able to collaborate with this guy to successfully bring him into protective custody because we were able to find common ground, even through his, don't quote me on this one, I think it was meth that he was on, but we were still able to bring that to a successful resolution because we were able to find that common ground and collaborate and actually talk to each other. And so that's always the message. That's why I got 60% of my bills passed down at the state capitol when I'm in a super minority. It's why I got the libertarian candidate to endorse me, because we're all Americans at the end of the day, and we need to learn how to have civil conversations with each other. We can have passionate conversations with each other. There's a lot of things that I disagree about that are going on right now. And so I fight hard, but I fight fair and I fight respectful. And that's just always my plea to everyone that's going to listen to this is you don't have to sacrifice your principles. You don't have to sacrifice your beliefs, but be respectful about how we passionately disagree about these things.
Gabe Evans running for Congress in Congressional District 8, looking to unseat Yadira Caraveo. His website, electgabeevans.com. That's electgabeevans.com. Gabe, thanks so much for taking time to join us on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Now, that is a race to watch. That is one of the most competitive, biggest races in the nation. You're going to get a lot of money coming into that because Yadira Caraveo beat Barb Kirkmeyer, very, very little, very, very small amount.
Very small. And I'm starting to see some Caraveo advertising on TV pop up in places. It's not very persuasive, but I can see where they're trying to define her. And I'm hoping that Gabe can get out there and start defining her before she gets that chance right now.
Yeah. Well, that was a great interview with him. Really appreciate him joining us. He's got a busy next 50 days. Look, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do, but there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there is exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's natural healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroid surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Joel in our office here works with QC Kinetics, is getting the treatment there. And man, he was telling me, he looks great. He looks so energetic. And then the other day he went hiking with his wife 5 miles, no pain. He said that's been 20 years since he's been able to do that. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation now, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. QCkinetics.com with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're covering everything related to the attempted assassination attempt of Donald Trump that took place over the weekend. If this feels like deja vu, it's because it kind of is. The second assassination attempt of Donald Trump took place over the weekend. He's safe. He's fine. Thank God the Secret Service responded the way they did. Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada, good morning. Joe, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff. 1,000 and Billy. 1,000 ideas here. First, I want to thank the just immense patriot that spotted the guy running off of Trump International Golf Course, jumps into his vehicle, and he snaps a photo of his license plate, sends it to police. They corner him in traffic just minutes later. Yeah. If it wasn't for that patriot, we would not have this guy right now.
You're right.
Think about this. That guy saw something. We call it in our church DLR. Doesn't look right. Took a photo. His phone was right there. Took a photo. Saved us the hassle of having a wanted assassin on the loose.
Yeah, he's a patriot and a hero.
So that's a incentive out there for every conservative patriot out there. You are the net. You are the eyes. We have millions, 70 million eyes that can find these jerks. And Erdera Caraballo, I'm glad she didn't make a statement. I'm sure she would have provided something like, this just proves that the Democrat that tried to kill him wasn't his fault. It was Trump's fault. Really? The other thing is, think about this. This guy had to have collusion. He didn't just fly from Hawaii, show up on the golf course and wait for weeks. He had to have information. How did he get it?
I mean, even Edward Snowden is raising concerns. Is the government totally clean on this one? Joe, really appreciate the call. Thanks so much on that. Great to hear from you. By the way, Joe, you're one of our audience's favorites. All right, John Fabricatori joining us live in studio next. He's got some thoughts on Jason Crow. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this wild morning following a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump that took place yesterday while he was playing golf. We're talking all of that today. We heard from Lauren Boebert. We heard from Gabe Evans coming up here in just a second. John Fabricatori, and this is important, he's running against Jason Crow. Jason Crow, the top Democrat on the House committee investigating the first assassination attempt. And after last week and all the comments Jason Crow made about gang activity in Aurora, saying this is blown way out of proportion, this is all just right-wing media, do you trust him to get this investigation right? We're going to talk to John Fabricatori in just a second. Phone lines are filling up. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the new text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. We're going to get to Francis real quick, and then we'll get to the news with Blake Golson. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm completely aligned with Joe from Arvada. This is, I mean, I don't know how this could have gone down the way it went down without somebody alerting this nut to Trump out there golfing. I can't, you know, these courses, you know, it's not, obviously there's, you know, a lot of wide open country and stuff, but, you know, you got to get on the course. And I assume this course is not exactly, you know, a public goat track. I mean, how is some guy carrying around a rifle or anything that looks like it that could poke out from the bushes? And moreover, how can he just drop everything, hightail it out of there, and get into a car with very nearly not getting caught? I'm
now my understanding, Francis, is that he is on the external side of the perimeter, so he's on the outside of the fence. And based on how the course is, because you know the golf courses are huge, the holes in which he set himself up on are right near sidewalk, and then it turns right, and there's another road, etc. Just from the map that I've seen. And if you did set up along that line where the fence is, you do have access to at least a sight line for 3 of the holes. And that's where the guy set up. So he's hiding the bridge, he's hiding the bushes that way. And then that's why when he gets up and he runs away, it is so fortuitous that the person that is driving their car right near there sees this guy running away from the golf course going, that don't look right. And at least it picked it out. Yep, at least. And it heard, you're right. And it heard one gunshot because it was the Secret Service that was firing at him.
Yep, that's right.
And then he takes off. And then they're like, wait, I just heard a gunshot. Someone's running away. This could be interesting. And then takes the pictures. But that's what it looks like. But Jeff has a good idea. And we had a caller, Chuck, that just called in too. Wanted to know about what are security cameras? Where are they placed? Are they only at the front gate opening? Do they not have perimeter security cameras that are at least watching, the outside perimeter? What does that look like as well? Lots of questions.
Well, yeah, it almost makes it more suspicious to me because if he isn't on the course grounds but poking guns through the bushes outside, isn't he more even public accessible to people who can see what's going on? And how the heck would he know where to be and when to be there? I mean, if he's going to have some sort of line of fire, I smell a rat. I just smell a rat. This is nuts.
I mean, Francis, and I'm not like a huge conspiracy theory guy, but I do think there's somewhere in the chain of information that how did he know? You can assume over the course of a weekend, if Trump isn't going anywhere, he's probably going to be playing golf on his course, but you don't know tee times. And you don't know how he's going to progress. And so you wouldn't sit out there the entire afternoon and you would have no idea that the president is coming towards you. And I do have a question, and Joe raised this question. I'm not certain that someone helped him and set him up to get him there, but I want to know how he got the firearm. After conversation we had earlier, those model of AK-47s that he had are running about $900. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of necessary income. How did he pay for the flight to get there? And then how did he pay for the firearm? Because I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee, it is unlikely that he brought the firearm with him from Hawaii into the contiguous U.S. states. So that would have had to be purchased afterwards. And again, I want to know, where's the money coming from? I'm super curious about that.
Edward Snowden saying there's strong Oswald vibes here.
I appreciate them.
True. True.
Well,
I hope Gabe Evans doesn't Caraveo, because if you recall, isn't Caraveo the one who the libertarian candidate kind of got teed up that election. And Gabe Evans, I hope he's getting support from the state party since he was not one of those endorsed candidates.
I don't
and
think
it would be nice to know.
I don't think
what
anyone's
level.
getting support from the state party.
The really nice thing, though, is that the nice thing is that Gabe has reached out to libertarians and has made a gentleman's agreement with them. So they will be supporting him, and the libertarian in that race has dropped out. So we shouldn't have the same shenanigans as last time. Very smart.
Francis, really appreciate
Thanks,
the
Good to hear your
call.
voice.
Thanks so much.
That's
Phone
cool.
lines are open 303-696-1971. Coming up after the news and comment with Blake Olson, John Fabricatori, who's challenging Jason Crow. And this is really important. Jason is the top Democrat in charge of looking into these assassination attempts. I don't trust him. We're going to learn more about that in a second. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. 60 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
It blows my mind that I'm standing here alone without thousands of people from every country, from Asia, from Africa, from Australia, from Canada, from everywhere in South America, every place. I'm
Europe.
Europe, everywhere. We need everybody here. If you have no skills, just come.
That's 58-year-old Ryan Ruth. He's out of his mind, and he believes what the mainstream media tells him. So he believes that Donald Trump is a devil, and he needs to take him out. And that's what happened allegedly yesterday. The alleged gunman who was trying to assassinate former President Trump on his golf course was engaged by the Secret Service near the shrubs not far from the fifth hole where Trump was getting ready to putt. Ruth was armed with an AK-style rifle equipped with a scope. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert on with Jeff and Bill last hour.
This is so frustrating, especially when I see the rhetoric from the left-wing media. They're blaming this all on President Trump and saying that this is his fault for inciting violence and his rhetoric and this and that. President Trump is just plainly putting out what Americans are going through, what is happening to our country. The steady decline under the Biden-Harris administration, the wide open border, the inflation, the rising crime rates that he was proven accurate on, by the way, after the debate when the sorority sister tried to fact check President Trump. But in all of this, he is trying to communicate the frustration and the message of Americans. And they're going to say, well, he's getting shot at. People are attempting to assassinate him because of his rhetoric.
And CDA candidate Gabe Evans, who used to be a police officer, says this administration can go after innocent people like Tulsi Gabbard, who still serves our country, but they can't make it a priority to protect a former president who may be the most popular man in the world, along with being the most hated.
They're all in on that when it comes to making sure that parents that have objections to their local school board are potentially tracked as domestic terrorists. They're interested in that sort of stuff. We've literally let 99 folks on the terrorist watch list into the United States. And again, it's because this administration and this administration's allies in Congress have all of the wrong priorities when it comes to security.
The White House said that President Biden and Kamala Khan have been briefed. After assassination attempt number 2, messy NBC was just horrible.
Do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started.
What a bunch of idiots. On Friday, here's Kamala Khan in a hard-hitting interview with Anchorman Philadelphia.
I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit. When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid.
She always
My
starts with
mother
this.
raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager.
Answer the question.
I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn.
I can't remember the question. Can you? I have no idea. I like to edge my lawn and trim it as well. Wow.
They called him names. He won anyway.
And that's Tucker laying out what happened with the assassination attempt. We'll talk about that next hour.
Now come on, baby, tell me what you want,
All right, one of the members of the Jackson 5, Tito Jackson, is dead at the age of 70, had a heart attack while driving. News brought to you by Lara Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at LaraFireplacePatio.com. The Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6. Denver is now 0-2. Steelers at 2-0 right now. 55 in Louisville, 57 in Castle Rock, and 60 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies after morning sunshine across Denver and the Front Range. Going to have a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the lower 80s today with lows tonight in the mid-50s. Little better chance for showers and thunder. Some stronger gusts possible on your Tuesday. Highs will be in the mid-80s with lows lower 50s. Sunny, dry Wednesday. Highs mid-80s. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're getting reaction from community leaders in Colorado to the assassination attempt against Donald Trump that took place over the weekend. Number 2 now. Holy cow, they rigged the election against the guy. They rigged the debate against the guy. They impeached him 2 times. They've tried to bankrupt him, put him in prison, got a mugshot. Now he's faced 2 assassination attempts. Sorry, that's where my vote's going. My vote's going with that dude. Because whatever he's trying to break up in the deep state, I'm all for it. So, all right, John Fabricatori joins us live in studio. John, you're challenging Jason Crow. Jason is the top Democrat investigating the first assassination attempt and now probably to the second assassination attempt. This guy can't even get reality down in what's happening in his own district regarding Venezuelan gangs. Says the whole thing's blown out of proportion. It's all a bunch of right wingers. It took us 5 minutes going down there to be like talking to people. We're like, oh yeah, there's Venezuelan gangs here. And there's a problem. This is the top guy to run the investigation from the Democrats into Donald Trump. Are the American people going to get an honest answer from him?
No, they're not. Look, it's Jason Crow's not based in reality right now. He's been far removed from Colorado for too long. He's entrenched up there in DC, and if you notice, he's become like a hatchet man for the Democrats up in DC. He's involved in everything.
Right, impeaching the president.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's on all these different committees. He's showing up on Fox News. I mean, he's a spokesman for Kamala. So Jason's gotten into this kind of like leadership role. You should not trust anything he says right now because he's carrying water. That's all that this guy is doing. He's going to try to put the message forward for what the Democrats want. He's not telling you the truth. He's telling you the truth as the Democrats want you to see it.
Right. And they're rewarding him. He had a higher place speaking at the Democrat National Convention than Jared Polis did.
He absolutely did. And look, we need to realize this. We need to see that the Democrats are starting to use Jason Crow for whatever they want to put out in the future. That's why we need to unseat them now. If you look at this tactically, you should say, CD6 is a very important seat because we need to get Jason Crow out of Congress now. I think I'm the guy to do it. I think we can be successful this November if enough people actually get out to vote and show up and either send in your ballot or show up the day on November 5th and make sure you put John Fabricatore. But we need, either way, we need to get Jason Crow out of office.
Well, the people of Aurora need him out. I mean, we went down. This is what really got me. And I got so mad about this. We went down to some of these apartment complexes ourselves to just talk with people. What's going on? What are you seeing there? All right. The actual immigrants themselves, right? I didn't get into whether or not they're here legally or not. Almost everybody I talked to was not here legally. They are being bullied, intimidated, and abused by these gangs. And all you get from Jason Crow, Mike Johnston, and Jared Polis is that this is just made up by right wingers.
Yeah, look, he doesn't care. He just doesn't care that, you know, the migrants that are out down in that area are the ones that are being extorted initially. So when these gangs come in, this is how they initially set up shop. They go after people in their own communities, and that's who they're stealing from, robbing from, until they start to spread out. So if the Democrats don't care right now what's happening, they're not going to care further when these guys start to move out of those neighborhoods and they're hitting down in Cherry Hills Village. They're in, you know, so more into Centennial. You know, we have to watch what's going on. They're not. So it's up to us. People like you are actually going down there and talking to people. Do you think Jason went down there? Do you think he sent his staff down to see what was going on? Absolutely not. He didn't.
All right, John Fabricatore, you've got a background in law enforcement. Tell people what that is. And then what do you think happened yesterday?
Yeah, so, you know, I started out in the United States Air Force. I was security forces in the Air Force, transitioned that into a career in federal law enforcement, starting in 1996. Was with Federal Protective Service, and then I was with Immigration Customs Enforcement for 23 years. So, you know, I've been involved in very high-profile security events, the DNC, the first World Trade Center trial, both Oklahoma City bombing trials. I kind of understand how security works. So, you know, just seeing what's going on with the Secret Service right now. I mean, this should not be happening. Number one, President Trump should have the same coverage that President Biden has, especially after the first attempt on his life. That has not been increased to that effect yet. That's kind of worrisome to me. I mean, well, we know people are coming after the guy.
The argument being he's not the head of state. If there was an assassination attempt against the head of state, would throw the entire government into disarray. My response to that is we are teetering in a culture that could, I hope not, I really hope not, could break into violence if somebody at the top of the ticket on either side ended up being assassinated. I don't want to live in a country like that. Take it seriously. You want to beat Donald Trump, all right? You want him off the political space. You got to beat him fair and square in a fair election. Do that, okay? That's one thing. But to purposely know that the threat is where it is and then withhold Secret Service resources, it starts to borderline on a willful disregard as opposed to like, oh, just accident or we're lazy or that type of thing.
Yeah, and look, and you know, Jason Crow sitting on a task force on the first assassination attempt. How long are they going to wait to release the information from that first attempt? Are they going to wait till after Election Day when it's now too late? Like, that information should be released now. Any information they have, the American public should know, so we know, you know, who's actually coming after President Trump. You know, how much of is his life in danger? We need to be aware of these things. And the Secret Service needs to step up. And just like you said, I mean, he's the head of a political party. He's the head of the Republican Party. He's a former president running for president who's already had one assassination attempt against him. And now a second one happens, and they still have not upped his security level. I mean, you know, Secretary Mayorkas, multiple Democrats, Jason Crow, you know, they're not doing their job. They're trying to, you know, kind of put this down, tamp this down a little bit and say, hey, the violence is coming from the right. The right needs us to end their rhetoric. Come on now. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I'm looking through Jason Crow's X feed, and I mean, he's calling Donald Trump a despot, saying because of Donald Trump, people were attacked on January 6th. Look, if anyone needs to be taking down the rhetoric a little bit, it's Jason Crow and the Democrats.
Talking with John Fabricatori. He's running against Jason Crow, Congressional District 6, which is right here in the Aurora area. Your website, johnfabforcongress.com, johnfabforcongress.com. So let's talk about the perimeter. This was a debate Billy and I had early on in the 6 o'clock hour. I think there should have been Secret Service, at least a K-9 unit, working that perimeter right there. If they knew that the golf course gets close to the public streets, at least in that area, walk a dog around the perimeter there.
No, 100% right. So they would have taken an outline of the security perimeter of that golf course, and they would have known at what points you could visually see a certain number of holes. And they should have known from that location, you could visually observe at least 3 of the holes. That should have been covered, not just by a dog. You're 100% right about the dog, but there should have been a team in place there outside the perimeter and inside the perimeter. There was a Secret Service agent inside that perimeter. He's the one who saw what was happening, but there should have been someone outside that perimeter because it was such an observable point where someone could come in and have eyes on 3 holes of that golf course. That's a failure right there. Again, this looks like the second failure by the Secret Service not to be able to identify strategic areas that an enemy could come in and cause mayhem.
Now, one of the text messages we got here, by the way, you can join the conversation via text 720-819-5115. That's 720-819-5115. They're going, look, is it necessary for us to provide this type of protection to people that play golf? The president or former president plays golf. I remember Barack Obama played a lot of golf when he was in office. This didn't seem to be a big problem till it was Donald Trump.
Well, this is victim blaming right here. Like, why are we blaming Donald Trump for wanting to have a normal life? Yeah. Should we lock him up in a home until November 5th? Like, no, we need to blame the criminals. The criminals are the ones that are doing this to Donald Trump. The people who are attempting to assassinate his life. This is what we need to look at. We don't need to say, oh, it's costing us a lot of money to cover Donald Trump, so we're going to lock him up. No, how about we stop the criminals from coming out and actually trying to do this? We as Americans, we should not be, worried that every time a former president, a person who's running for president, leaves the home, someone's going to assassinate him. Let's take care of the bad people out there and then lead a good American life.
Yeah, I don't see him backing down from his live rallies at all. He's going to continue to play golf. In fact, I was watching Fox yesterday when Lindsey Graham called in to the Trey Gowdy show to talk about the fact that Donald Trump had called Lindsey Graham right after it happened. Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump's response was, I was 2 under, 5 in, and I got pulled off the golf course because of this thing. So he was in rather positive spirits. Well, phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-819-5115. Look, if you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we've got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts, whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof. Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. Had Steve from Colorado's Best Roofing, founder and CEO, in here the other day. Great guy. Talked about his faith, talked about how his company is an act of worship to God. And he just wants to glorify God through what he's trying to do. So it's a guy you can definitely trust. He's my guy. check out roofingcolorado.com. We'll continue with your calls and text. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studios, John Fabricatori is running to challenge Jason Crow. And I'm just really frustrated with Crow because he's the top Democrat named to look into these assassination attempts. But when it comes to his own district, Aurora, he blames any concern about Venezuelan gang activity on right-wing conspiracies when we went down and talked to people that are dealing with this. Migrants that are dealing with this type of intimidation. If he doesn't know what's happening in his own backyard, how would I trust him at all to provide a good analysis, a non-political analysis, Representative Crow, on what's happening to Donald Trump? He just comes across as a political hack. Sorry. All right. John Fabricatore in studio. His website's johnfabforcongress.com. Get to know this guy. Great background with the military, serving as regional director of ICE here and keeping our country safe from this border invasion that's taking place. John, let's dive into the weapon that was used. We got a text message here from Iggy. An AK is the wrong weapon for presidential assassination. It's an ambush weapon. Doubtful it was fully automatic. If you plan it, you need to have something that is accurate. And this doesn't scream accuracy. What are your thoughts?
Well, it matters. The AK-47 fires a 7.62 by 39 round. It's a larger round than the AR-15. Higher velocity, more kinetic energy, and with a scope on it, the weapon can be accurate for the ranges that we're talking about in this with a scope. And if you know how to use the rifle, I don't really know what this guy's background was, but that rifle can be accurate. It's used all over the world. It is used as a more of an assault ambush style weapon, but in the right hands, it can be a fairly accurate weapon.
Well, he could have just sprayed, right? Just started spraying as much as he could. 200-300 yards. It's not that far, right?
Like you said, it more than likely was not a fully automatic weapon. But even then, the amount of times you can pull the trigger in a couple of seconds is a lot. So you could send a lot of rounds downrange and possibly have hit the president and the other person that was playing golf with him.
My understanding, the AK-47, the models that are sold that he would be able to buy off the shelf right now are semi. They haven't been able to be fully automatic since I want to say it's late 80s, early 90s. I think that law came through. They couldn't sell fully automatic. So you would assume that it was going to be the semi-automatic. But I think he's got a great point about it being for this type. For someone that is not highly specific in training, it's a difficult weapon to make that shot. It's a difficult one to reasonably hit at several hundred yards. Again, we don't know weather conditions. We don't know wind. We don't know a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, you have no idea where the president may be sitting or standing at the time as well. So you have no idea about the sight line. Iggy actually called in and we chatted a little bit off air, and he had another thing that was kind of interesting. And I wanted both John's reaction to it, but also yours, Jeff, and then we can get to the phone calls here in a bit. But he was talking about the idea of copycat shooters, and he said that Iggy, because he works in security, and said that what he's really kind of concerned about are these events spurring copycat shooters. And he wasn't just pointing at the idea that more people are going after Trump. He said more people will go after potentially Harris, will go after, it could be anybody. It could be fame. Yes, it could be someone out on the campaign trail. It could be someone that is a sitting congressperson or someone that is running for election, things like that, that this has the potential to spur on a number of copycat shooters for a variety of reasons. We can find someone, and there was some information this morning, the police, when they were arresting the gentleman that's accused of shooting at Trump over the weekend, that he seemed, quote, disconnected, that, the elevator wasn't going all the way to the top floor, which wouldn't be a surprise, but you could easily see how other people that are having that problem with the elevator and having those mental issues could make the same choice because they've been given an example of what can happen. And I think this somewhat resonates with John Fabricatore and him running the idea of copycat shooters possibly being out there. Now, in your experience, John, based on security, what do you think the likelihood is of this, and how would you change security approaches about this? You've had 2 attempted shootings. What do you do to change as far as security protocols?
Well, I mean, you need to engage the Secret Service and have them relook at what they're doing with President Trump right now. I believe that he needs a larger security team just because of who he is and what has happened to him in the past. I mean, the only way to kind of lock down on situations like this is more security. There's no other way to do it. I mean, we have technology, we've got dogs, but really it's boots on the ground, men and women who know what they're doing. being able to really look at this and give President Trump the same amount of service that they're giving the current president right now.
I got to tell you, the movie that has terrified me more about the vulnerability of a presidential attack or a candidate attack was that one with Morgan Freeman, where the drones. Remember, he's the president. The drones just start taking out everybody. I'm like, do we have a way to stop that? Right?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we have anti-drone technology, and the Secret Service does use it.
Do they?
They don't allow drones to fly over the president. They have ways to take out drones. But I mean, we need more of that. We're going to need more of that with President Trump if he's going to stay on the campaign trail and be the same guy he's been the last couple of months. And he's going to want to be. He's not going to want to be locked up in a house. We're going to make sure that we have every bit of technology and every boot on the ground that we can to keep him protected.
John Fabricatori, want to ask you, our enemies now, Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, look at this and are like, wait, hold on. Those two yahoos that are dopes found a way to get close to the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Couldn't a coordinated group of assassins from Iran who want to take out Donald Trump get a lot closer and likely succeed if these two dopes can do that?
Yeah, I actually hate that you're even talking about it because like, look, with the way that I study the border and the things that I've seen, I know we have terrorist cells that have come into this country. I know that we have had people that are prior military from other nations here on U.S. soil right now. And like you said, we're talking about two yahoos. We're not talking about a coordinated attack by guys who have had real military training, know how to use their firearms, know how to look at security and bypass security efforts. Let's just hope that we're gonna now be 110% on our game. The Secret Service is out there. They're going to have the uniform division of the Secret Service out at every event that President Trump is at, that we're going to use more federal law enforcement assets, more local and state assets to keep our candidates safe.
Yeah. I mean, you got to at this point.
Yes.
You got to. For the future of this country, you've got to keep them safe because both the political opponents as well as now foreign agents, and I'm not saying political opponents in the Biden-Harris context. I'm talking about a guy that, doesn't like Donald Trump because of his politics,
right,
are getting close to taking him out. Go ahead, Bill.
No,
you look like you had a question.
No,
You're like,
no,
it's
no.
like right about to talk.
No.
Like, Billy, you can jump in on this one.
And I did want to, and I did, we talk about it all the time that people on the show talk about me being dogmatic and unreasonable. And John has persuaded me that, that I think Donald Trump does need more Secret Service protection. I didn't think so earlier on this morning, but given the reasons and how he's outlined what the problems are, and especially hearing from Iggy about copycat shooters, I had totally neglected that. So, I was wrong earlier this morning. I do think that he needs to have the same Secret Service protection that the current sitting president does. Yeah.
And
I think it makes sense.
I'm worried about those drones, man. Let's go to Holly Aurora. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Holly.
Good morning. Thanks, you guys. I just turned on the radio and was listening to you. John, I am so happy you're running. I am so happy you're running, sir. Please stay in the race. And if you will, stay close and connected, even if I know you're going to win. When you win, please stay connected and close to Danielle Durinsky and Lauren Boebert and the rest of them that they've been trying to help us locally for some time now.
Holly,
and so just stay.
Tell me why you like John Fabricatori better than Jason Crow.
It's easy, Jeff. Jason has never, I've lived here 30 years, and Jason has never, not one time, ever answered a Republican telephone call, let alone listen to anything we have to say. He's in here only for the Democrats. And hopefully one of these days, the Democrats in Aurora will realize that nobody in the Democrat Party is going to help them. They don't care in Aurora the Democrat leadership does not care what Aurora Democrats need or are looking to try and get some help of. And they'll never get any help. They'll always do without.
John, let's get your comments here.
First off, thank you, Holly. I really appreciate that. And look, I will 100% be feet on the ground here in Aurora when I make it into Congress. Danielle Jurinsky is a good friend. She's a fellow United States Air Force veteran. She's a wingman for me, and I will continue to communicate with her and make sure Aurora has what Aurora needs to be the city that we want it to be in the future. It's very, very important for me. I raised 2 kids in Aurora. I've been a part of the Aurora community now for since 1997, and I'm in this race because I believe I can win it, and that we can take Jason Crow out of office, make him retire, send him to a nice retirement. But there's a lot of work to be done, and I promise you that I will be in this community while also being in DC.
And then I thought of something real quick. I'll hurry quick. While I was waiting, I thought of something. All of us who need to make a donation or whatever, we're ready to, it's a new month, make a new donation to Trump and stuff. Write on your check or whatever that this is for whatever he needs it for, but also to help pay for private Secret Service. That will be a way for us to show him that we know what happened. We know that Biden is not making the effort that he needs to protect Donald Trump, and he'll be able to say, I've gotten thousands of dollars or millions of dollars or whatever in donations, giving me extra money to pay for private Secret Service because they don't believe that this administration will take care of me and protect me.
Holly, appreciate the call. We'll let John respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, Holly, President Trump does need a broader security team, and that's maybe not a bad idea that he brings in some of his own personal security if he feels more comfortable doing that. But really, the government should be providing protection to someone on the campaign trail.
Bill and I were talking. Yes, Donald Trump is a billionaire. Yes, he could have his own army. Is that what we want our candidates to have, though?
No. I was just commenting. I was commenting
the Trump army versus the Harris army. I think our country did that at one point.
I was just commenting in Jeff's ear about, Trump has the means. He could hire his own big security team. He doesn't need to take donations from Holly, from John, from myself, from Jeff. He could fund that himself. I would argue that rather than our donations going to his personal security, it is better spent getting him elected if that's what you want. That's where he should be spending his money. We don't want the donations coming in and having to be placed on security. I would say that if you want him back in office, it needs to be placed in getting him elected. That would be the best use of that money. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, and I am against candidates having standing armies.
Me too, in general.
Let's just be clear about that. All right, Billy, tell us about Balanced Wall Space.
Hey, oh my gosh. I got to tell you, this weekend, Jeff and I were out at TAPS. It was a fantastic fundraiser. Got to see lots of people that just are so involved in making sure that our military members, when someone passes away, get the families that are left behind, get the support they need. Now, I'm wandering around. I'm doing this all with my bum knee. My bum knee, my bad back, and I felt fantastic the entire night. Thanks to my friends at Balanced Wall Space. These are things I stopped doing. I constrained my lifestyle because of the pain that I was in. And I know that you are making the same choice. There are things you used to do, things you want to do, you're no longer doing anymore. That whole bromide about, you get older, it's going to have to hurt. It doesn't. And I have found the team that can change that for you. Balanced Well Space. Check them out online, balancewellspace.com. Here's what makes them different. Integrative medicine. I had no idea what that meant until I met them. The idea is in one office, one stop, one appointment, they can take care of everything. Inside of Balanced Well Space, you can get chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more. It's a very long list. Plus, they have some great non-invasive, cutting-edge modalities that are just coming out. The science is absolutely incredible on them. But you can't take advantage of all of this training, all of this care until you contact them. Go to balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Reach out to the team. Go in, make an appointment. You talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess. The team asks you about what hurts. They ask you about what you're not doing and what your goals are. They then take the pictures, the x-rays, and put together a custom pain plan that is focused on you getting better. They then go to work. You go over there once a week, one stop, you get all the treatment that you need. Imagine the extra time that gives you in your life. Plus, it's a medical team that is focused on you so much. Every couple of weeks, they reevaluate your care. Your current medical team isn't talking about you. They're in a number of offices across the city, and that's okay. But they're not working together to make sure you feel better. That's the difference you will find at Balance Wellspace. They have brand new offices right across from Hangar 2 in Lowry. Jeff and I were stone's throw away at the Wings of the Rockies this weekend, and I pointed out, I'm like, hey, Balance Wellspace is right over there. They have a huge parking lot. I like the shady trees. I always try to park under the shade there. But most importantly, it's a team of professionals that is focused on getting you better with all sorts of different options under one roof. Integrative medicine is the way to go. I want them to take away the pain like they've taken it away in my life. I'm doing things I haven't done for decades because I no longer have those aches and pains that were stopping me. They don't have to stop you from making those choices as well, but they can't help until you call them. balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Talk to the team that I trust. I want them to make a difference in your life just like they've made a difference in mine. And do me a favor, tell them you heard about them here on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear, Billy. We'll continue our conversation with John Fabricatore. Give us a call if you'd like to join, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-819-5115, talking the second assassination attempt against Donald Trump in 60 days. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, John Fabricatori, his website, johnfabforcongress.com, F-A-B-B, the number 4congress.com. He's seeking to unseat Jason Crow, who's the current congressman and a radical, wild leftist. Nobody knows this because they paint him in such a weird, but the Heritage Foundation has found that Jason Crow is more progressive than even AOC and the squad in his voting, which is just nuts. All right, let's go to Nick Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my call. I still work for FedEx, and I work with a lot of Latinos or Mexican Americans. I don't know what the proper terminology is anymore, but anyway, and I also work with Venezuelans who had to leave Venezuela because things got so bad in Venezuela. Everything that you have heard about these gangs is absolutely true because they live next or a block or two away from where all this is happening. Yeah. And the problem is that the conservatives in this country, or people who believe in common sense, we need our own news outlet, because most Americans don't even hear any of this stuff. All they do, if they do listen to any of the TV news, they listen to all the mommy news, and this is never reported.
No, well, that's because it's driven by a political agenda. Nick, appreciate it. John, let's get your response.
Yeah, you know, what Nick is saying is right. Like, you need to be in the community, talking to people in the community. And look, these FedEx drivers that are driving into these areas, they're going to see this. They're going to know what's going on. You know, I've heard from emergency services, from people who drive ambulances, from EMTs, that they're held back from even going into these apartment complexes until a police officer arrives on scene and can go into the apartment complex with them. So that, again, that shouldn't be happening in the United States of America.
No, it shouldn't. And look, I spent 4 days with Palestinian protesters at the DNC.
Yeah.
Wasn't nervous, no problems. There was a few times it got a little tense with the cops and stuff, but when we went down to those apartment complexes, bro, you had cars multiple times, same car drive by, take pictures of us.
Yeah.
We were clearly on somebody else's turf.
Oh, of course you were. You definitely were.
Wow. All right. You got 20 seconds left. Give us your closing argument as to why Jason Crow needs to find a new line of work.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up spot on. You know, he is severely to the left. They try to frame him as a moderate. He's not. I implore people who are out there to look at his voting record, see what he's voting against. He's voting against the SAVE Act. He's voting against the Lake and Riley Act. He's voting against things that make common sense to people of Aurora, and he doesn't care. He's not here in the community, and he needs to go. Let's retire Jason Crow. So go to johnfabforcongress.com, JOHNFABB, the number 4congress.com. Check me out on X at @John_Fab. And let's get this rolling all the way to November 5th. Go out and vote.
That's right. John Fabricatori, great friend of the show. Thanks for stopping by. Always good to see you, brother. We'll continue. Greg Lopez is up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Mile High City on this Monday. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Billy, I'm in line for the Casa Bonita.
Hey,
I'm one of the founding members, so I get a chance to. There's 15,000 people ahead of me.
That is crazy.
So I'll get my reservation tomorrow.
Oh yeah. See, the thing is, and we talked about this. I really want to go. I have not been there. I'm one of the few people that my friends hasn't been there yet. And the part of this is that I love concerts and live music and things, but I dislike large crowds and gatherings. It's really weird about me. I hate going to premieres and movies and having a full theater. That just bothers me. Bothers the heck out of me.
You were great. We were at Taps over the weekend.
I know.
You were jiving it up with everybody.
I do well in it, but that's not where I am at my most comfortable. And putting myself into that situation, is one of those things. And so going to a full Casa Bonita for me is just like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't have to deal with all the people. I mean, I've been in public. Have you seen the public? And sometimes I shouldn't be in public. So I'm just saying, there's kind of, protection on both sides. Protection on both sides, my friend.
Well, we've got a lot to cover. We've been talking all morning about the attempted assassination attempt against Donald Trump that took place over the weekend while he was playing golf.
Yeah.
Between hole 5 and 6. Some dude sticks an AK-47 through a bush and a chain link fence. Secret Service quickly responding, firing back. The guy drops it, gets into a car, takes off driving. They didn't arrest him there, but because somebody took a picture of the license plate, the police were able to track him down and did a felony roadside arrest and got him into custody. Lots to talk about. Do you think this is going to continue to happen? Is the Biden-Harris administration doing enough to protect Donald Trump? Are they being woefully ignorant? Are they being purposely ignorant at this point and keeping the resources away from protecting Donald Trump? What is going on? We want to get your phone calls and texts. Phone number is 303-696-1971. Text the show at 720-819-5115. That's 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and commentary with Blake Olson, Greg Lopez, congressman from Congressional District 4, will give us his reactions. Not going to want to miss it. Let's check in on that news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Yep, like as predicted, now it's back to Ruth. So now they're calling him Ryan Ruth. So we'll see at the end of the day what his last name is. 66 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
1:30 this afternoon, call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area.
So the man accused of trying to kill former President Trump is in court. Ryan Ruth was taken into custody Sunday after authorities say he staked out a position within 500 yards of the former president as he was playing golf at Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach. The suspect, who officials say was armed at the time, was able to get away and drove off only later to be pulled over and arrested. John Fabricatore, CD6 candidate, knows lefties like Jason Crow and the Democrats ignite this hate, and he is pushing back. He was in the studio last hour with Jeff and Bill.
The right needs us to end their rhetoric. Come on now. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I'm looking through Jason Crow's X feed, and I mean, he's calling Donald Trump a despot, saying it's because of Donald Trump people were attacked on January 6th. Look, if anyone needs to be taking down the rhetoric a little bit, it's Jason Crow and the Democrats.
And Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert on with the fellas also.
This is so frustrating, especially when I see the rhetoric from the left-wing media. They're blaming this all on President Trump and saying that this is his fault for inciting violence and his rhetoric and this and that. President Trump is just plainly putting out what Americans are going through, what is happening to our country. The steady decline under the Biden-Harris administration, the wide open border, the inflation, the rising crime rates that he was proven accurate on, by the way, after the debate when the sorority sister tried to fact check President Trump. But in all of this, he is trying to communicate the frustration and the message of Americans. And they're going to say, well, he's getting shot at. People are attempting to assassinate him because of his rhetoric.
Yeah, no doubt. And CDA candidate Gabe Evans, who used to be a police officer, says that this administration can go after innocent people like Tulsi Gabbard, who still serves our country, by the way, but they can't make it a priority to protect a former president who may be the most popular man in the world, definitely in this country, and along with that, probably the most hated. Why wouldn't you protect him?
You know, they're all in on that when it comes to making sure that parents that have objections to their local school board are potentially tracked as domestic terrorists. They're interested in that sort of stuff. We've literally let 99 folks on the terrorist watch list into the United States. And again, it's because this administration and this administration's allies in Congress have all of the wrong priorities when it comes to security.
I think we all know why they are allowing this to happen. Tucker Carlson laid it out a long time ago, long before the first assassination attempt.
They called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work. What's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion.
Well, you can't tell anyone what he's doing within an hour of his activity. It's going to be rough the rest of the way. Have to pray for him and his protection. 63 in North Glen, 64 in Lone Tree, 66 in Denver. Tito Jackson is dead at the age of 70. He died of a heart attack while driving. Obviously, one of the members of the Jackson 5. The Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6. Denver is now 0-2. Jeff and Bill continue Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies after morning sunshine across Denver and the Front Range. Going to have a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the lower 80s today with lows tonight in the mid-50s. Little better chance for showers and thunder. Some stronger gusts possible on your Tuesday. Highs will be in the mid-80s with lows lower 50s. Sunny, dry Wednesday. Highs mid-80s. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, covering all things you need to know about the second assassination attempt that took place over the weekend of Donald Trump. We've been going back and forth on cause, on Biden-Harris's incompetency with regards to the Secret Service and the FBI, all that stuff today. Bill, here's my question to you, and here's my question to our listeners. 303-696-1971. Is this going to continue to happen? Do you think we are now into like school shooting world where the dudes are like, I can get famous?
Yeah, I do think that's where
they're
we're
going to
going.
run into this, and now you're going to be dealing, because prior to this, it was like Ronald Reagan in the 80s was the last time you really, now some dude threw a shoe at George W. Bush.
Yeah,
some dude crashed a plane into Bill Clinton's White House, if you remember.
Yeah.
So you did have these moments, but I'm afraid we may have crossed the Rubicon. This is now going to be something that somebody can get a lot of attention doing.
Yeah, and I think that the other problem with it is, like Iggy pointed out, friend of the show, that you're going to have some copycats that are going to want to take out some notches on the other side. There may be something where you have people saying, well, they're doing it to my candidates, so obviously I have to retaliate by doing it to their candidates. Or you will have people that are inspired saying, oh, this is an opportunity. I can get famous because look at all the attention these two guys that went after Trump. Imagine if I succeed. I will be in the history books forever. So there is some self-aggrandizement that is possible as well. So yeah, I think that we have opened Pandora's box, and there's no
I'm
way to
afraid
close
we
it.
are too, because
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of shame around like the Wilkes Booth area, John Wilkes
Oh,
Booth,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and families that hid and changed their names. Oh, but I'm afraid that shame's going away.
Yeah,
Let's go to
absolutely.
the phone lines. Congressman Greg Lopez is joining us. He represents Congressional District 4. Congressman, you saw the news yesterday. Where were you? What went through your mind when you heard about a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump?
Well, let me tell you, Jeff and Bill, it's great to be on your show. I was actually sitting in my office. You know, I'm in Washington as we speak, and I stayed over the weekend because of the continuing resolution and all the work that we have to do. But as I heard about this, you know, it reminded me of when I used to do advanced work for the vice presidents and the importance of being able to make sure that we had valid security, all the things that we needed to do. And you know what? The Secret Service did the right thing by being consciously aware. But I'm going to tell you, this is something that's going to continue. This is something that we're not going to be able to address in any real fashion to make it go away until we send a strong message, a unified voice to say, we don't do this in America. We don't do this in our nation. People are still going to be, you know, those outliers. They're going to do whatever it is that they feel they need to do to get attention. But it is scary times. You know, we all know that this election cycle is not normal. There's been so many different things that have happened in this election cycle, and they will continue.
No, it is a unique time in American history. And in the previous hour, Representative Lopez, we were talking about the need of the Biden-Harris administration to make sure that the head of a party, a political party, even if it's an opposing party, can remain safe in this country because God forbid something does happen, you're going to push this country in a direction that we don't want to go. And so if you're the president of the United States or the vice president of the United States, you should have been on the phone Sunday. You should have been on the phone after the last attempt saying, this is not going to happen on my watch. Where is the president of the United States? Where is the vice president right now? Congressman Lopez?
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is truly a show of lack of leadership. Look, human, you know, just being respectful to your brother and sister, right? For them to pick up the phone and just check up on the former President Trump and sending a message to all their heads, all of the FBI, the Secret Service, say, we will not allow this to happen. We're going to make sure that he has as much security as the president does because we're in an election cycle. And they're not doing it. So actions speak louder than words. And you know that, Jeff and Bill. And the other thing I will tell you, right, and I remind people all the time, you want to test the character of a person, give them power and see what they do. And here we are, you know what, our so-called leaders of the free world, both the president and the vice president, are doing nothing to calm our nation with all this that is going on. And like you said, Jeff, you know what, let's hope nothing actually does succeed because I don't think they're done trying.
Now, Congressman Lopez, that is so cool to say that. So, okay, Congressman Lopez, joining Jeff and Bill live here this morning after the attempted assassination, the second one in 60 days around Donald Trump yesterday. We talked earlier about whether or not this is opening Pandora's box. Do you think these type of shootings, these two, will give permission to unhinged individuals or just angry individuals that may ascribe to either political party the okay to say, now this is something that we do. We now can start having open season on our political candidates, that if you're angry, you're frustrated, doesn't matter. You can go and make a name for yourself and show everybody else you're angry by taking it out on our politicians.
Bill, I can tell you that, that's probably a true statement. As much as, we don't want to acknowledge that because it's scary to be able to actually say that. But just think about it. This is the second person. He saw what happened to the first person, and yet he decided to go ahead and take the risk, right? Now, here's the thing. At least this one's alive. He got caught, and we're going to be able to use whatever process we can to persecute him. Now, there's other people that may feel, well, you know what? Again, these guys are getting close enough. Maybe I can get as close as well. And so the security perimeters need to expand. But we need to have more officers and more eyes on the ground checking for these types of things. That's the only way we're going to protect any candidate, is to have more people surrounding him and looking to see if, in fact, there's somebody out there that is trying to do them harm. But I do believe, that I don't know that we've opened it 100%, but I do believe it's very difficult times right now for the presidential candidates to evaluate. Is this something that is going to be the normal here in America?
Yeah, I'm afraid it reminds me a lot of Columbine, where it was so shocking. It was stuff that people, you just didn't think we're ever going to do. And then you crossed the Rubicon, and I was 17 years old when Columbine happened. I was at Cherry Creek High School. We went into lockdown. It was our neighboring school that had to deal with that. And now it's like just a part of life, because these wackos have realized they can get a lot of notoriety. They can get their message out. They can hurt a lot of people by doing that. And I'm afraid we're doing that with presidential candidates right now. Look, part of the response, Congressman Lopez, was Donald Trump is not the head of a state. So he's not going to get the same type of Secret Service protection that Joe Biden is. What's your response to that argument?
I think that's a fallacy. I think he was a former head of this state and our nation, and so he deserves that courtesy. Specifically, when they had intel saying and knowing that there was going to be this possibility, they should have reacted as soon as they got that intel. You don't wait to see if it's actually going to happen before you decide to protect somebody. This is why we have the FBI and the Secret Service and all these agencies, to prevent these type of things. And if they're sitting on information, not sure whether that's going to happen or not, shame on them. Because you know what? We always should err on the side of caution, specifically when it deals with somebody's life.
Congressman Lopez, I want to pivot here real quick. I know you're very busy with your time. You've given us a lot today. I want to ask about two bills. One coming up that you have introduced that would require ballots to print the national debt on them so that people can see it when they vote. Tell us about that.
Well, look, one of the things that I think a lot of people are not aware of, they hear the national debt of $35 trillion, but they've never seen that number on paper. They've never seen, how do you even read that number? And so I believe this is an educational opportunity that if we were able to print the last 3 years' national debt on ballots that have federal elections on them, people would see, and then when they vote, they have to look down and say, well, who's responsible for this debt going up? Well, if you're about to vote for them, then maybe you should ask a couple of questions of where they stand. So this is an educational piece because, you talk to people about trillions of dollars, they have no idea what that means because we really don't talk about it. But it's becoming a number that we're all getting immune to, but it's growing by $1 trillion every 100 days.
Any luck we're going to get that through? The Democrats going to allow that?
I think I have a pretty good chance to get it done. Only time will tell, right? We got to get through this continuing resolution. That seems to be taking everybody's time. But you know what? I've spoken to some people about it. They think it's a novel idea. They think, no one's ever really put it that way. So I'm not getting a lot of opposition, but I think we do have a strong opportunity to get it done.
Give us an update on the continuing resolution.
Well, we're still trying to figure out and negotiate what are we going to do to pass this forward. It's all about strategy from the Speaker's house. I'm looking at some language. I'm looking to see what I can do to help pass a continuing resolution that reduces the deficit, but only time will tell. So, I wish I could give you more right now, but everybody's flying in today. Today is a fly-in day for the rest of the members. And so we'll be picking up this conversation this evening and throughout the week.
Great. We'll continue to watch that. Hopefully you can join us later in the week to give us an update. Congressman, we know you're very busy. Congressman Greg Lopez, his website, lopez.house.gov. If you need to connect with him, Colorado's 4th District Congressman. Thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you.
You bet, you guys. Take care.
All right. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning, your crown disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help you retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently growing in specific areas? From Advanced Hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow, it's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll get to the calls and texts. How did you feel? What went through your mind when you heard that there was a second assassination attempt against Donald Trump? Is this going to continue? Do you trust that the Biden-Harris administration is going to provide the security necessary to protect Donald Trump? Give us your calls, 303-696-1971. You can now text the show. We have a new number for you to use. Send your message to 720-819-5115. That's 720-819-5115. Save it in your address book. When you send us a message, it'll be delivered directly to the studio. Message and data rates apply. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill, talking all things the assassination attempt of Donald Trump that took place over the weekend, the second one in 60 days. By the way, the Wall Street Journal just breaking this, Bill.
Yeah.
Suspected Trump gunman had rifle with scratched off serial number. Partially obliterated number has made it more difficult for investigators to trace the weapon, people familiar with the inquiry said.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we talked about a little bit earlier. And I'm curious, how did he obtain the firearm? Because in certain states, he would have been prevented from owning or purchasing a firearm. So where did he get it? He most recently lived in Hawaii, so he did not fly with it into the contiguous U.S. states, so he had to pick it up afterwards. And those guns, again, if you're going to just walk into a shop and buy them, are running around $900. So where's the money coming from? Because we don't have any, right now we have no basic employment that would allow him to leave Hawaii and come out here and do nothing for a while. So I don't know where that's going. And obviously, if he wasn't allowed to legally purchase a gun somewhere, he would have had to go somewhere at the black market at that as well. So yeah, lots of questions.
As Edward Snowden said, there are strong Oswald vibes here. He doesn't think that the government's hands are clean on this. That's interesting. Let's go to the phone lines. Jay Sterling, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, and thanks you guys again. You know, a lot of these things are kind of simple to us, or to me anyways. We're going down this road. Why? Look at what's happened to him in anything. So there's something bigger. There's something real bigger, and that's what I want you guys to look into. If you could, you have more access to things than I do. There's something bigger to this deal. I mean, from impeachment, impeachment to assassination, to his financials, the ballots, sexual assaults. Give me a category in which they have not tried to go after him for.
If Donald Trump was a Democrat, none of that stuff would have happened. You wouldn't have had the debate rigged. You wouldn't have had 2 impeachments. You wouldn't have had lawfare. You wouldn't have had bankruptcy. You wouldn't have indictments. You wouldn't have had a mugshot, and you wouldn't have had assassination attempts, I believe.
Debate rigged.
But he's a man that stands up for us civil people. I mean, that's the way we see him.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that doesn't support him, because he's a man of our nature that has built this country to what it was and what it needs to get back to be. But there's so many, I mean, who's behind putting all this stuff on a man protecting us?
Yep. Jay, I'm with you. There's something bigger going on. Appreciate the call.
I'm not sure I can get to the idea that this is all largely coordinated, and especially if we talk about this wouldn't be happening to Democrats. Bob Mendez. I mean, this is in an election year. They went after Mendez and they prosecuted him much quicker than Trump. They got him charged much quicker than Trump. They got him convicted much quicker than Trump. And that is in an election year in which the Democrats can now feasibly lose that seat. So the idea that this was only about electioneering, I somewhat disagree with, but I understand Jay's point.
Let's go to the next line. We've got just about phone lines. If you want to get in on Jay's line, give us a call, 303-696-1971. Arnie Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Arnie.
Morning. Yeah, good morning, guys. I had asked a question to Billy there when I came on, is whether you guys listen to anything else on the radio around the dial. I listen to the radio all day long and half of the time all night long. I'll tell you this. I wasn't the slightest bit surprised that somebody was trying to do this. Several people that are friends of mine, we've talked about this for a long time, and they're gonna continue to try to do this. There's going to be more attempts. You think those Iranian people are not going to try to do something before the election or even after, if he were to get elected? And I just think that I don't know that the government put this guy up to it or any of that kind of stuff, but there's enough nutcases out there on both sides of the aisle to try to do this back and forth.
Do you see it though on the other side?
I
understand
about that, other than I'm not surprised.
Arnie, I understand there's nutcases on both sides of the aisle. I don't disagree with that. But why is it only happening to Donald Trump at this point?
Well, there was do either of you ever listen to? Is on another network, Billy Cunningham.
I do not.
Maybe.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
familiar,
well,
but
you
not,
should.
yeah, don't listen a lot to him.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. You really should listen to him. He's on Sunday nights only. He had a guy on last night, and this is somebody that he's interviewed many times in the past. And the essence of this guy's comment was that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they really want to see Donald Trump killed. They just don't want to do it. And that's why they have lukewarm responses to things that happen and go on. But it's this guy's belief, and he's been a student and study of this kind of stuff for a long time. He says, yeah, they want it to happen. They just don't want to do it. So
can you make
they'll
the
rely on
argument
nutcases to do
that
it.
the negligence does make it look like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden want Donald Trump to die? Can you make that leap, or are they just being negligent? Are they just kind of going, "Wow,
I think
we'll just hope he doesn't die"?
my personal opinion about that is, like in any organization, your personnel are like a bell curve. You got people up at the top, you got people at the bottom on both ends. And so I'm one of those that believes that overall, there's only a couple of things that the government through the military do correctly. And when it comes to blowing things up and breaking stuff, they're pretty good at that. I think the rest of the government are essentially a bunch of mediocre hacks looking for retirement. And I think that's true. I think that there are people in the Secret Service that look for it to be a paycheck, and there's others that really believe in what they're doing. But overall, I think that
appreciate the call.
Yeah.
Thanks
I
so
see what-
much.
I see what
Arnie
he's saying.
Littleton,
Yeah, and-
303-696-1971. Can you make that leap, though? Can you make the leap from, because he said that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden want Donald Trump to die.
Yeah, and I would say no, because at this point, Harris seems to have momentum inside the election. And if Donald Trump is killed, he becomes a martyr. And that will change what goes on as far as the electorate. And if Donald Trump is not there and J.D. Vance becomes the nominee, it's my opinion that the sympathy wave that would go behind the Republicans for this happening would be enormous. I would say the quickest way to get
I don't
the
think
Republican
J.D.
in there.
Vance would be the nominee.
I don't know, but
I think they would go with Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, but how would you do the same thing the Dems did?
Yeah, I
then?
don't know.
That would be
Yeah.
issues, and the problem being is you can't complain about the Dems doing it and then turn around in a different situation
Well,
and have the
one
Republicans just
withdrew, one
name.
would be
Oh, I know,
dead.
but the idea being the target was there was no vote. There was no primary. And unless the Republicans are going to run a second primary, that would be a difficult thing to happen. And the other part I have is I understand the idea that the impression that this is only happening to Donald Trump. It's as if we have forgotten what happened to Gabby Giffords in the supermarket.
Mhm.
She's a Democrat. She was shot in the face years ago by someone politically motivated. And we're not talking about the idea that, oh my gosh, how many more Democrats are going to get shot? But it's as if this is the problem that I have, is the myopic look that many Trump supporters have, figuring that time started in 2016, that nothing that went on before that had any impact at all. There wasn't anything. That it is we are in the age of Trump and everything else is now BC. Well, BT before Trump. So that would be the idea.
Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to talk to you about Dr. Mike and Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. Also, if your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's 303 233-1335 or RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. Dr. Mike's a great guy.
Yeah, he is.
Help get your teeth in order there. All right, we'll continue with calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, a very special broadcast as we cover all things related to the second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Oh, my goodness.
Good.
What is going on here? Jam-packed phone lines. Let's get to Larry Aurora. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Yeah, I just want to say, I guess we had politics at full strength. And I just want to say that, Mr. Trump, he's going to be okay. He's going to be protected. And I believe that. And they're going to give him whatever he needs. But here's my issue. I want to know who's going to protect me as a regular citizen. And then what goes around is you put this rhetoric out there all over. And when you're talking about people in Aurora, you're talking about Ohio, and Trump and people know full well all you need is 1 or 2, 3 or 4 people to go off the hinges. So I'm trying to think about myself. If I'm a black person living in Springfield, Ohio now, I got to have my head on a swivel. I have to save my wife and my children. Who's going to come out and who's going to be shooting? See, I don't have Secret Service.
Yeah, and in Springfield this weekend, I believe there was a small Proud Boys march as well that were wandering around and yelling things at people in the neighborhoods. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people are putting this out there and they're going, and then so when it comes back, and Trump could, just put this out there in the ether and then walk away from it and feel good about it. And for what one reason is that it's going to push the political agenda. So we already got it, where the lone wolf goes and shoot the people in the black church. He attended the church services, and they walk him in and shut him up.
I got a question for you. I understand the concern over the rhetoric. Do you think that the citizens, do you think the citizens of Springfield and the citizens of Aurora are right to be concerned about the people that have been placed there by this Biden administration?
Well, this is what I'm saying, and I'm glad, because what I do is that I look at everything. I look across the board, and reading and just television. What I'm getting from that is that the people in Ohio saying that they want these people. I'm looking at when the father of the son who was killed say, stop using my son's name. What are you saying? You rather for him have my son to be run over by a white person? Would you feel better? So those are the things that goes on. And in Aurora, that you say that piece about Aurora. Hey, look, Aurora been that way for years on end. I talked to my son 2 weekends ago. He said one of his best friends was killed over in that same section of apartment. He said that's been a deadpan for years. And he said, but all of a sudden, that's why I say political time, the Venezuelans come, so that's a political thing, thing to do. So what I would like to do, and you say, do the crime, do the statistic, pull up the police report, how many times they've been responding to that over the years. So we'll see, did that just pop up because of Venezuelans, or has that been going on for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, and Larry, we were talking to a number of people, and it seems like that the apartment complexes ended up being what I will term as soft targets, meaning that there was crime and there was poverty and there were landlords that were unattentive. And so the residents didn't have anybody to turn to, and that created an opening for when the gang came into the area, they were able to take over. But you're right, that was not an unusual neighborhood as far as crime
Larry,
and poverty.
I appreciate the call, and I appreciate the concern about deadly rhetoric and inspiring people to be violent, but that's only part of the equation. There are policies that put people in these communities that now have to deal with it, and those policies are up for debate just as much as the rhetoric. All right, let's go to Jay, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Hey, good morning. Great show. I happen to be watching a race, and I switched over to Margaret Brenner, which is replayed in the afternoon on Face the Nation. So they were doing live broadcast what was going on in the Trump shooting. She couldn't bring herself to admit that previously the shooting that took place on Trump previously was actually, he was shot. She said he was shot at. She also didn't mention in the broadcast that there was a man that was killed, father there at the previous shooting. And this person that took this pot shots, he had any ballistics training or any armament training. AK is a 7.62 by 39, and it's very ineffective from 200 yards plus. It's called BDC. The bullet drop factor is a joke compared to AR. Its senior 7.62 by 59 is a 308, which is extremely effective. And I'm very sorry that we're dealing with this. And it is very scary because the other side is covering up 2 attempted assassinations on a previous president who may become our next president.
Do you think, Jay, do you think they're covering it up? Or, as we raised during the last time question, do you think Kamala Harris and Joe Biden want Donald Trump to die?
No, I don't think either one of them has anything more than just to want to get back in the saddle as he has the last 4 years and squander our future and our dreams. That's what I think. They don't really care about anybody else. And if someone does get, and I hope to God this doesn't get, that would reelect whoever is put up, DeSantis, anybody. Condoleezza Rice, there's an example, be a perfect running mate. But I don't want to. I just think that it's absolutely awful that we're allowing this, and also that they're looking the other way. The morning shows I turned on this morning, Monday morning, I never do, but I stayed back to do it. They're not talking about it. You know what I'm talking about is Jackson, one of the Jackson family guys died. That's sad.
Wow, Jay,
Yeah,
appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Jay from Denver, his line will be open 303-696-1971. Let's go to Lewis, Denver. Lewis, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Lewis.
Good morning.
Brother, I live in Aurora, not Denver. You always
Sorry,
say
it popped
Denver.
up. It pops up that way, my friend. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I will change that in the system.
Okay. Again, God spared Trump another attempt. Plus, let's not forget what Maxine Waters said, that she said, I will take him out tonight. That's a threat, okay? So, and let's not forget JFK and the conspiracy with that. They took him out.
Do you think they'll Oswald this guy? Do you think he's going to live, or do you think something's going to happen to him while he's in protective custody? This assassin, second one.
I don't know. I mean, they have to. There's a possibility, but I don't know. But let's recall how much the deep state hated Trump. Okay, the FBI. Look what Ray said. Oh, it may have been fragment. Come on, brother. What do you mean you're a fragment?
However, I understand the deep state, Lewis, but unfortunately, the Durham report couldn't find a deep state. And he spent more time investigating the administration and the Department of Justice than Mueller did investigating Trump and Russia. So after all those years and tens of millions of dollars, Durham couldn't find a deep state. He couldn't find this mechanism that is working behind the scenes in order to indict Trump. And I also, and I hate to bring this up, but I also disagree with the idea that God spared Trump during the first shooting. And the reason that makes me uncomfortable with my faith is that means God had to allow the other man there to die. And that's a hard thing for me to come to with my faith, to say that God is going to say this person deserves this protection, but this other person who is just important to other people's lives had to die in that instant. And you're giving God
the
choice
fireman,
there.
not the assassin, the fireman.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that.
Oh,
But
okay.
not the assassin,
I thought you meant the
not
assassin.
fireman. No,
Yeah.
not the fireman.
Okay.
The assassin can go to hell. Absolutely. They should die.
So
Yes,
they're going,
absolutely. No, I would hold them while they shot him in the face. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm about revenge. I'm okay.
You don't believe in the sovereignty of God?
Yes, I do. I do believe in the sovereignty of God. But what I don't believe is that he made that choice at that point, that Trump needed to live and that the fireman needed to die. That you need to convince me that God decided that at that instant, that fireman who had done nothing wrong and was going to leave children and a wife behind was the one that had to perish. I'm not saying Donald Trump is the other choice. I'm just saying that's a really difficult choice based on my faith, to feel that God in that moment chose, I need to move this guy's head so this other man can die. I have a hard time getting there, my friend.
Well, God didn't choose that man to die. Okay. Get that right. He didn't choose. Remember, evil exists in our nation.
Yep. Lewis, I
But-
appreciate the call. We're
Yeah.
just up against the end of the show here. We'll continue all this conversation tomorrow. Continue to join us. We want you to be a part of it. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNU.
Charlie
great
Kirk
Monday.
is up next.